from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property...
Dude, I'm sitting here just smirking. Like, imagine starting a stream with that and I still did it. It is what it is, man. That's fucking hilarious. Chat, what's up, guys? I didn't stream yesterday for very good reasons. I basically spent the entire day yesterday planning and editing the magic video. That's all I did yesterday. It was a very tiresome day. Well, mentally tiresome. I'm almost done it. So that's what I did yesterday. There's a lot of good moments in it. I think the hardest part about editing this video is just condensing 10 hours into footage that a Hearthstone player could watch, and so can a Magic player and anyone else who wants to watch it. So I've had to like really try to make it like enjoyable. Here's the timeline in case you guys are curious. Look at that shit. Jesus. I still got like fucking 4 hours more to go. So that's what we're doing. I'll do that tomorrow. Or I'll do that actually. Probably be done today. I'm hoping to release it tomorrow. That's the thing. What's up, Kermor? How's it going, man? How's your vacation going? Where the fuck am I? Hey, there I am. Oh my god. Today, obviously, we're gonna try out the magic or the updated wild cards. Specifically for one deck. Actually, I'm gonna probably play Grim Patron this entire stream to see how much Emperor Thorson really made a difference. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think any of the wild buffs did anything as far as I'm concerned, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I have 2 packs. Give me luck. Good luck, man. The wild set out? No, the wild set's not out, but the buffs they decided to do for the wilds patch is already in the game. So you could actually play with like the buff version of cards. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Before we do that though, boys, I asked people on here. I asked people yesterday. I haven't read any of these. I asked people yesterday to give me their hottest take for Hearthstone. Hottest Hearthstone takes. Let's see what people said. Prince Renathal being nerfed prevented a pseudo game mode from being made. Could easily see a Renathal queue if he was never nerfed. Dude, this is spicy. Prince Renathal being nerfed sucked, man. I really miss it still. I don't know if necessarily it was making its own metagame, but I do think that like people really liked the fact that there was 10 more life, because at least in 10 more life, the game felt different. And that is something that I have been like really advocating, is just having 10 more life and like feeling a different pace of Hearthstone was really, really cool. I could see this though. Like if everyone ran Renathal, the game does feel different. So it was a weird thing to do. It was really weird. I wonder if they made like, I wonder if making Renathal like a 10-mana 1/1 would have been different. So you just have a dead card in your deck. I wonder if that was fun. The overall story about the League of Explorers, League of Evil, and Galakrond is way better story than most of the recent expansions of WoW. I can't attest to this, but I did really like the Dragon one. I think the League of Evil thing was my favorite year of Hearthstone. Agreed. It's not a hot take. All right. This take is ice cold. All right, just kidding. I once used Theatar to yoink a flame geyser from my opponent's hand. I'd say that was a hot take. All right, buddy. All right. What the fuck? He's not wrong, though. If there was only the existing solo adventures in the client, it'd be a better game. Holy shit. Now that's a spicer if I've ever seen one. This one is definitely more like if you like the solo game modes in Hearthstone, I could definitely see this. Because a lot of people who like the solo modes literally only play the solo mode. There's probably a very collective community that just only plays dungeon runs. So I really like the solo adventures, right? Replaying them recently was really, really good. I don't know if it would be a better game without like the main format, right? Because those like dungeon run doesn't exist without the actual game mode. So I don't know. No single player adventure has topped the original dungeon run. I actually hard disagree with this. What does this guy say? I don't think they were worse. They just weren't better. I think Dalaran Heist was the best one. Dalaran Heist was phenomenal. They're like replaying them all recently. Like I've played basically every single one this year except for the Rosticon one and the Rumble one. I think Dalaran Heist is the best one. I enjoyed the Witchwood one. The Witchwood one was fun once. I just didn't want to play it again, right? Frozen Throne, Death Knight hero cards, Deathstalker, Rexter, etc. were the most fun cards to win in any expansion. This one's interesting because, like, I feel like if you had a lot of nostalgia for the hero cards when they first got released, you probably loved it. This is a lot of people's favorite expansions because this is the first time we got hero cards other than Jiraxxus. But I wouldn't really call this a hot take. I feel like if you really liked Frozen Thrones, it's because of like how the Death Knight made you feel, right? But the most fun cards to win in any expansion, I don't know, man. I really like the quest from Ungoro. All right, it's a hot take. The game is still tremendously fun. Every expansion you hear people complain and say that the game is dead. I enjoyed both Colossals and Titan a ton and spent a large amount of my playtime just using cool strategies like Quest Taunt Warrior on duels. 8 wins, by the way. You have a lot of fun in the game, just not in Stormwind or against Druid half the time. Specifically calling out Druid. This year has been very decent, and the last year was crazy fun. Sunken City was excellent. Nathria was hurt by them by not nerfing Denathrius until the next expansion. But Renathal's God set and March the Lich King and Frozen Thrones core set before was hyper fun. I actually legitimately think that Prince Renathal was the highlight of last year. I don't even think it was the Death Knight class. I think it was legitimately Prince Renathal. But you know, I actually kind of agree with this. I'm personally burnt out of Hearthstone, but a lot of people look back at Hearthstone with like rose-colored glasses and think that the game was so much better. And it's gonna be funny because the twist format that we have is basically older cards. So I think people are gonna remember that a lot of the game played the same, except for there was just less like interesting cards because they were making a game for like brand new players. Sunken City, Nathria, and March of the Lich King was a pretty good year of expansions. But again, I agree with this. I think Renathal was like the best. Oh, I'm back. Hello? Am I back? What the fuck? I don't know what the fuck that was, man. As someone who started in Old Gods, Voyage is by far the coolest and best expansion. Sunken City, goated expansion. That's the first time I dropped frames in actually so long. I can't remember the last time I dropped frames. How do we feel about this? Voyage is by far the coolest and best expansion. I don't know, man. I thought Voyage was good, but I wouldn't call it like when Dexter and I did the draft. I think I put it in top 5 though. I really liked it. I thought it was really, really good, but it's not. I don't think it was the best expansion. I think still the best expansion was Ungoro, and I don't know how they topped that expansion. That expansion was just fucking bomb. I think the first expansion of the year, if it's like a pretty good power level, generally has the best. It has the best place in a lot of people's memories, just because. Okay, let me try that again. Let me start that again because I'm a fucking idiot. The first expansion of the year usually has the best metagame because everything rotates, right? So Voyage, Ungoro, Rise of Shadows, all like Witchwood, all have like a huge advantage because they are going into basically a fresh metagame. So I could get this. Like, I like the Old Gods too because it just felt like a completely different game because they rotated it, right? But I don't think it's the best expansion. I don't think it is. I don't think it was good. Random generation such as Discover and Hearthstone's best and most interesting feature. Bro, random card generation such as Discover is Hearthstone's best and most interesting feature. The developers do a great job designing the game around these mechanics. God, that's fucking hot. See, Discover's really good because it allows games to play differently. Like, random is great in a game like this because games always feel different. But there's a point where like you lean too much into Discover and like random generation that it makes the game just not as fun. This is definitely like a balancing act. if it's done right, like if Discover's done right, it probably is Hearthstone's best mechanic. There is a reason why people really liked it during League of Explorers, but then they overdid it with like lackeys. I don't know, man. I think a lot of people I think most people are either like, I fucking hate Discovered RNG, or I really like it. It's really hard to find someone who likes it like at a medium pace and goes, yeah, this is fine. Go from watching Making Rare and hardly a nowhere joke to waiting to see it live. Oh my god, don't worry, there'll be a one in this video for sure, or this stream. Discovered RNG is what makes Hearthstone. No, I'm not against that either, right? Like Hearthstone. Random generation has been in the game since the beginning of Hearthstone, right? Like people forget that, like they thought that in Classic there was no fucking nonsense. Bro, there was some nonsense, all right? Sylvanas decided games, Ragnaros decided games. Mind Control Tech is like one of my most hated cards of all time, right? Brawl, a card that's literally been in the game since Hearthstone Classic, is still in the standard format, right? There is just a point where when Discover was first introduced, they had a really good trade-off for it. You got a card generation, but it was at the payoff of tempo, or was that the trade-off of tempo? Sorry, I should say. Nowadays, you don't really trade off Discover for tempo anymore. Now it's like, if you're gonna Discover, it's probably on a good card. So there is a balancing act. I think as we've gotten more and more into Hearthstone's lifespan, or sorry, not more, as we've gotten later into Hearthstone's lifespan, Discover and RNG have become a lot more prominent because the cards that they're on are just better. But this is, I mean, again, I think this is very 50-50. You either probably really agree with this or you think it's really, really bad. Hearthstone's RNG made the game a lot more diverse and exciting compared to other card games that started out in paperback. So Hearthstone had the advantage of being like the first real online card game where people don't actually have to calculate RNG and roll dice, right? So it made the game a lot more fun, made the animations more interesting. This is probably not really a hot take. I think this is the reason why Hearthstone was just so successful as well. But I will say this, the reason why they made random into the game, and especially like I just mentioned in Classic, is because this is the first card game a lot of people played for the very first time, right? Blizzard being such a huge influence back in 2013 and releasing a card game like Hearthstone that was very easy to get into. It was under the Warcraft IP. Having randomness in the game definitely made it more popular because it's easier and more interesting to play the game over a long period of time. Also, because Blizzard made the game really fun to look at and there was a ton of animations, the very clippable moments of Hearthstone really helped make it more popular than it was. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I do agree with this. Galakrond was a fantastic addition to Hearthstone. They should add one for other heroes in another expansion. Galakrond was good. Power level wise, it was hit and miss. I don't know if they should add it for another expansion though. The problem with adding this to another expansion is like it's really out of flavor. I don't know. I think Galakrond was an expansion, like Descent of Dragons in general, like you either really liked it again because of how intense the power level was, because Descent of Dragons was a really, really insane expansion compared to the previous two. And Galakrond allowed a lot of decks to be very powerful. The main ones that come to my mind are Shaman and Rogue. I don't know if I would want it again. I hated the Rogue one, man. Rogue was fun to play, but God, against playing the Rogue Galakrond, it was like one of the worst experiences ever, man. Jesus Christ. No, they shouldn't add one for another expansion. No, it should be something different. The problem with hero cards in general is it generally feels like whoever draws the hero card first is winning the game. So that's a weird balancing act because you don't want the game to feel like who draw the hero card first won the game and everything else is irrelevant. Galakrond was interesting though because they added the ability to invoke it. So even if you didn't play it first, if you got more invokes, potentially your Galakrond was stronger, right? So Galakrond in my mind was actually one of the better ways of doing the hero cards, but I don't know if I want it again. I refuse to play Kronks. Yeah, you never play Kronks before Galakrond. It's illegal. Unless you're playing Priest. Priest was fun. Warrior is an amazing class with a lot of potential that Blizzard refuses to recognize. It's fun to play as, especially with Odin as overall fun class. I think, okay, this is my hot take here, chat. This is my hot take. Warrior is one of the best classes throughout Hearthstone's entire history. People look at the last couple years of Warrior and go, what the hell happened to my class? It's so awful. It's always been this bad. Dude, Warrior was playable in Classic. It was playable in Old Gods. It was the best class in Mean Streets. It was playable during Witchwood. Like, it's always been a really good class. Warrior has had a lot of times where they've just been a tier 1 deck. And it's not only control, like there's been tempo decks, Crim Patron, for example, right? People just think about the last 1 to 2 years where Warrior just hasn't had a fun, interesting deck other than like Enrage Warrior. And the class is fine. Like we saw, like, I don't know if you guys watched the Masters tour. I watched like maybe the last game, but Enrage Warrior was in the top 4 decks, top 4 players lineups. So it's not like Warrior's bad. It's just Warrior is having a rough patch right now. Now, I also did a video talking about like Death Knight taking away Warrior's like class identity. So it'll be interesting to see how they design Warrior cards going forward. I do think Odin is a really cool fucking card though. It's a really fucking cool card. So I'm sure they haven't just completely dropped Warrior's potential, but remember, people forget how good and how fun Warrior has been across the years. We just actually talked about Galakrond. The Galakrond deck for Warrior is so fun. Like, it was one of the best cards. It was one of the best decks to play. And Rage Warrior during Demon Hunter is so satisfying. It was very, very satisfying. But I do kind of agree that right now, Blizzard is definitely lacking the potential for Blizzard. Or Blizzard is definitely Blizzard is definitely lacking in creativity for Warrior cards. But Odin is a really good step in the right direction. Okay. Fatigue and heavy control archetypes are the most fun decks in the game. So much counterplay, especially Emirs, make for really interesting games. That's a spicer. Fatigue and heavy control archetypes are the most fun decks in the game. This is probably if you're the one playing it. If you're not playing this, a lot of people end up not liking the game because most people don't, and this is my hot take, chat. Most people don't have the, I don't want to say brain power, but like realization in Hearthstone games where they just know they lost, right? A lot of aggro players will like continue playing against the control deck, even though they've lost for like 5 turns now, right? And they go like, oh my God, this guy has removal for everything. So people end up hating those archetypes because it's like, I concede often because I realize like when I lose games, right? The issue is that when this deck is the most popular in the game, the metagame is very slow. And often, especially in current Hearthstone, it definitely feels like whoever discovers the better cards ends up winning like control mirror matches. In the World Championship of last year, it was like a pre-smear. And if you watched it, it was like an hour-long game. And it just was like, who generated the better cards won the game. And that's what it felt like. Even though I'm sure there's a ton more nuance to it, right? People don't want to spend an hour of their life queuing into control decks over and over again. Now, I'm someone who really likes fatigue decks. Like, I like attrition, but I don't want this to be the most fun deck in the game. I want them to be playable, right? I want it to be an option, but the most fun in the game? I don't know, man. I don't know. If it was like, I think previously in Hearthstone, where there was limited amount of resources, I think that's what was cool about fatigue and heavy control archetypes, because you could actually pinpoint what your opponent doesn't have and what they do have and what they use and what they didn't use, right? Nowadays, it's really hard for it to be like, yeah, my opponent doesn't have this, but then they played 5 discover cards and now I gotta figure it out, right? So it's tough. All right, what is this? Really cold take, to be honest. Is that a cold take? Gen should be buffed to hero powers cost 1 less, so if you change hero or play Demon Hunter, you still get Gen value. I don't think this is a hot take at all. I think they should just do it. I don't think in Wild, having a 0 mana hero power is really that broken if you really want to play even Demon Hunter. But I don't have the Wild knowledge to really give a full analysis on how great that actually is. But I mean, I think this could be fine. Whatever, it's fine. Ben Brode was responsible for some of the worst monetization and the least fun parts of the gameplay of the gameplay with the refusal to balance and game warping RNG cards. Crackle and Implosion were mistakes. The gameplay improved significantly once he stopped having control over it, even if the game wasn't as popular at this peak. Holy fuck. Okay, this is actually a really spicy one. But let me talk about this. Why? Okay. Ben Brode, I did a whole video on this, by the way. I'm pretty sure the gameplay team has no control over monetization. David, you're probably right. You're probably right. But we'll get to this in a second. Ben Brode made a video game for new players. Okay. The reason why there was less balance patches in the beginning of Hearthstone is because you don't want a player who can't play every single day to come back and be like, I don't know what's happening. There's too many changes. I'm not going to play this game anymore. That was his logic, chat. I guarantee you they thought about it a lot. Now, did they design some really bad cards? Yeah, absolutely. Crackle and Implosion were absolutely abysmal designs, and I still bring it up to this day because I fucking hate Implosion. But I think it's very easy to look at the flaws that Ben Brode added to this game and forget that he actually is a huge reason why the game is here today, right? Without Ben Brode, we probably wouldn't have Hearthstone because he designed the game with his team to make it as accessible as possible in the early days of Hearthstone, right? I said it earlier that this is probably a lot of people's very first card game, and having the ability to be as accessible as possible and not have so many changes was a really, really big deal. It's a huge reason why the game was so popular. Now, I think Ben Brode really dropped the ball probably around, what expansion was it? Maybe like Cobalt and Catacombs, I think is where, actually, I don't know. There's Barnes too. Like there's a lot of really abysmal cards. You know, in hindsight, I kind of agree with this. I think the biggest problem with Ben Brode's like balance issue is just if he balanced the game more earlier on, I think the game would have maintained a lot of its players. Because the grand tournament was probably such a huge disappointment for players that it made people not want to play the game. Barnes was disgusting. Undertaker was disgusting. Patches was disgusting. So I don't know about game warping RNG cards though. There were RNG cards that really decided some game. Dude, I hate Implosion so much. I actually hate it. Ben literally made the game what it is. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. You could diss Ben for his decisions on some of the cards and balancing, but you have to remember that Ben Brode is the reason why Hearthstone's here today, right? The design of the game is such a huge reason why Hearthstone is still so popular to this day. And you got to remember the good stuff that they came up with, right? Yeah, Yogg-Saron's a really good example. Like, people love Yogg-Saron. Reno Jackson's a huge reason. Again, he may not be the reason why it was created, but he laid the foundation for these cards to exist. So, yeah, this is a... I don't know about monetization, though, because Ben Brode's job was game director. He is in charge of the design of the game. He's not designing the monetization. I think even in Marvel Snap, he's probably not in charge of the design of monetization. He probably maybe has some input, but he doesn't probably get the final say. Like, there's no way he goes to Blizzard's like executives and go like, no, we're doing this to monetization. Like, there's no way. They probably told him that's how it's going to be, right? And to be fair, when you look back at Hearthstone through rose-colored glasses, right? I don't really think about this, or I don't think about this, right? I think about the good moments I had at Hearthstone. But when you compare the monetization we have now versus what it was, it's pretty bad. The battle pass system and like how Hearthstone has added duplicate protection, really big deal in current Hearthstone. So I think it looks really bad currently, but for what it was at the time and being like the innovator, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world. Ben Brode's idea of a nerf is creating a new card 1-2 expansion later that counters it. Not always, but yeah, he did do that a couple times. All right, let's move on. This is kind of fun. Can we just do this, the whole stream chat? Do you guys like just reading hot takes? I kind of want to just do this. I was going to play Hearthstone today, but I could just look at hot takes. No, like we could just react to hot takes. David, do you think this is a good video for YouTube? I might actually post this. Mean Streets was an amazing set that introduced a lot of interesting deck archetypes at its core. Bro, Okay, Mean Streets definitely suffered from patches. All right, if you guys don't remember, Mean Streets was basically patches. It's like, it was, you played Pirate Warrior until it was nerfed, and then there was a little bit more. But they did introduce a lot of really cool things. I actually really like the flavor of that expansion because there was like the tribes, like the Jades, the Cabal, and the Grimy Street Goons. The Goons kind of got railed because they were so weak, because they thought ham buffing was so broken for some reason, but they just kind of forgot that, you know, Patches the Pirate's kind of broken. God, I don't know, man. It introduced a lot. Maybe the problem with Mean Streets was just purely balance, because if it was released with proper balancing, I think it would have been okay. But there's also a lot of negatives, right? Like, yeah, Jade, I think people really hated Jades, but I think people hated Pirates more, man. Jades really came up. Jades was like the first sign that like control's kind of dying, right? They don't want games to last nearly as long. That was a weird expansion. It's a weird expansion. A lot of negatives in that expansion. God. You'd have to go back and look. Jades were worse than Pirates. Which, okay. See, here's the thing, right? Would you rather lose a game in the long run to Jades or lose the game on turn 3? Because sometimes against Pirate Warrior, you kind of lost the game. And that sucks. Now, I will say this. Mean Streets was a step up from... What was the expansion before? One Night in Karazhan. I hated One Night in Karazhan, bro. Barnes was awful. Can you play For God's Sakes? Nope. I'm going to do this. Everyone say goodbye to him. Bye, Lucas. Quests were a very cool idea. Questlines were a very cool idea and shouldn't have been abandoned after Unite. This is the hottest take so far. I don't like this. It's making me angry reading it. Ice cold take, David? What? Questlines were a very cool idea, and you're saying ice cold take? No shot, bro. Should have been abandoned after United Stormwind? Are you out of your... David, David, we got to talk after this, buddy, after you saying that out loud. Cool idea, bad execution. Agree, to be honest, the balancing of questlines was the main problem. So, you know, I actually did a whole video on this, chat. We talked about, it was like early last year, of like, were questlines a mistake? And the general idea I got from it was, if a questline fundamentally changes the game after it is finished, it's probably not good for your game. Because I think almost every single one that, I mean, maybe it is every single one. Hold on. Let me do a quick check to see which ones got nerfed. Hold on. I was gonna say every single nerf, or every single one got nerfed, but hold on. Because we can do a quick little test here. So this one got nerfed. This one got nerfed. This one didn't get nerfed, but it doesn't have a continuous effect after it was finished. This one got nerfed. This one got nerfed. This one did not get nerfed. This was actually like one that did not get nerfed, and it does have a continuous effect. This one did not get nerfed, but again, not a continuous effect because you gotta play the card and then draw the card to kill your opponent. This one didn't have a continuous effect. This one got nerfed. This one got nerfed and banned in Wild. And this one got nerfed. So every single one besides the Paladin one that had a continuous effect did not get, got nerfed. Sorry, it got nerfed. So questlines were a cool idea. I guess the take is, if the questlines were more like this, I think I can get behind it. And we have the same issue with Ungoro, where like the problem with Ungoro. Oh, hold on. The problem with Ungoro. The problematic card of Ungoro, I should say. Hold on, where the fuck is it? The problematic one from Ungoro ended up being, well, this one got nerfed in Wild, but I don't think it was like a... Wait, did this one get nerfed in Wild, chat, or did it get nerfed in Standard? I actually can't remember. The real problematic one was this one. And it's the same problem as Questlines, where it was such a really good effect after you finished it that it kind of ruined the game. So maybe the take should be like, yeah, I guess you're kind of right, because Questlines were cool. It added direction. It was a cool way of doing it, but they have to be really careful of how they design it. But I will say this, dude, if they do design more Questlines, they are gonna get fucking reamed. Like, they're gonna, like, people are gonna be complaining. They'll be complaining. Yo, Tesla and Claw, thank you for the supporter, bro. Never wanted to punch the screen more. That's fucking hilarious. Yo, Emu, what do you play, bro? I don't think I've ever seen you on this channel before. Have I? I don't know. Any emus in chat? Okay. Oh, buddy, we're moving on to another one. Priest isn't a toxic class. Favorite deck to play and always will be Highlander Galakrond. Kronk. Dragon Priest. Yes, I mean Priest. How many of you guys think Priest is a bad class? Don't play anything. I'm a TikToker that happens to be YouTube verified. Oh, shit. I'm getting his IP right now. Hold on a sec. Priest is the worst. Wow, that's a hot one, buddy. I don't know, dude. Priest isn't a toxic class. Again, I think it's very dependent on if you're playing it versus playing it. But I think most people would agree that Priest is awful to play against. God, those fucking sucked. When Priest is the best class in the game, I don't play Hearthstone. That's just as simple as that. So I don't agree with this at all. I think this is heresy, and I think this deck was fine as something to play against. But this is no fucking way, bro. Means Priest opinion invalid. True. Oh god, another Priest player. Priest is and has been my favorite class since I started playing Hearthstone. The archetypes and playstyles, excluding Big Priest. Okay, this is good. This is good. We like to see this. Just seem way more interesting to play than other classes. I really listen. I'm not a Priest player personally, so I don't agree with this at all. Like, there are way more interesting things to do against Priest, or to play as Priest, man. Priest has had some really cool decks over Hearthstone's history, though. Like, I think Raza Priest was a really fun deck to play. I don't think Priest in general is a bad class. They've had a lot of highlights, but I think on average throughout Hearthstone's history, I've hated it the most. Oh, these fucking Priest players, man. All right. The Year of the Dragon was the best 3 expansions run in Hearthstone history. Galakrond was the most fun I had playing in Hearthstone. So that was Rise of Shadows. That was Savers of Uldum. And that was Descent of Dragons. That was a good year of Hearthstone. If you minus the Dr. Boom control phase and you remember when they did, like, they brought wild cards to standard for a bit and then Evolved Shaman ran Savers of Uldum? Like, we don't count that either. I think Savers of Uldum was one of the best expansions Hearthstone has ever had. So I'm in this boat. I also thought the overarching story in that expansion was probably my favorite year of Hearthstone in terms of just like lore based things. The Rafam leading a bunch of villains was really cool. The League of Explorers fighting back. It was a cool thing to pay attention to as well as play the cards. And I'm actually really hoping that Blizzard does that again. It was just a good year. Dalaran Heist came out. Tombs, what is it, chat? The Tombs of Terror. What's the solo adventure for Uldum? I can't remember. Tombs of Terror. Okay. Yeah, it was a good year. I don't think this is necessarily a hot take. I think a lot of people would agree with this. The only other year I think that actually competes with this is Ungoro Frozen Throne into Cobalt and Catacombs, because that year was just so batshit and it was so fun every expansion because every expansion was so different and every single expansion power crept the last. I can get behind that. The Witchwood had the best meta of any expansion. Holy fuck, this man out here with the coldest take I've ever seen, man. Wow. Witchwood had the best meta. I don't think I've ever read this in my life. Dude. God, I think this is also heresy. That's rough, buddy. God, okay, let me think of the highlights for Witchwood. I think Gen and Baku for the first expansion were fine. Shutterwalk was very popular. Like, what was the good decks in Witchwood? I can't even remember. People only remember Year of the Dragon fondly because it was just before the Pandy. No, I disagree with you on that one. There was a lot of good stuff in the Year of Descended Dragons, or the Year of the Dragon. Hagatha was fun. I really liked Hagatha. Oh, but hold on, chat. Hold on. The World Championship with Hunter Ace was during the Witchwood expansion, and that arguably was the best World Championship we've ever seen. Maybe this guy's onto something here. It was a good meta. Like the first expansion, after they nerfed Shutterwalk, it was actually not a bad expansion. There's a lot of really weak cards in it, but I think it was a good year. Gen and Baku. See, I think Gen and Baku really showed up during the Boomsday. Like, they were good, but they got better as the year went on because even an odd decks got better with every single expansion because there were just better cards to put into your deck. Yeah, it was also the introduction of Rush. Oh, this is a weird one. This one has me second guessing. There was a lot of decks to play. I'll give the Witchwood that. Like, after they nerfed Shutterwalk and like the initial phase of nerfs, there was a lot of interesting things to play in that expansion. God. Okay. That's hot, man. I don't know, dude. Holy shit. This might be the hottest thing I've ever read. I've never seen anyone write that ever in my life. God, that's crazy. Okay. It's a mid expansion at best. Yeah, but he's not talking about the expansion. He's talking the metagame in the expansion, which means you also have to realize that the previous 3 expansions, which was Ungoro, Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs, influenced the metagame there, right? So there was a lot of stuff. Like if you go watch the World Championship for that year, it was really fun to watch. So he might be onto something. Like I wouldn't call it a great expansion, but maybe I'm wrong about the metagame. But what if he's memeing? What if they're all memeing, dude? All right. Solo content is supreme compared to multiplayer. Fuck, hold on. I clicked on it by accident. Is that a hot take? I guess it is, man. I would say that maybe there's like 2% of people that might agree with that. The solo content's really good though. Some of it's really good. But if I think back over Hearthstone's history, I think I've still liked multiplayer more. I don't know, man. Like I think the solo adventures were really good, but they don't compare to what the game actually is. Solo content's fun for a bit, but gets boring as fuck. Yeah, but like, okay, imagine, right? Imagine they kept updating it, right? They kept updating the solo adventures, right? And then you had infinite content, right? Like let's just say they updated at almost the same rate as like normal expansions. Then I think you could make the case that like solo content would be really good. It's called Duels. Who's gonna tell him, chat? Who's gonna tell him? I think you can maybe say the peak of solo adventures might be better than the peak of gameplay in Hearthstone. Maybe. Like, maybe. But I don't think that's true at all. Thief Priest is the most fun archetype, and Murloc Holmes is peak card design. Okay, let's break this down in 2 different ones. Murloc Holmes is peak card design. Let's go take a peek at Murloc Holmes, shall we? Okay, Blizzard. I was like, what the hell? Does the card not exist? Do you guys think, like, this is not a bad card? That's a frog? No, that's a Murloc. It's a cool card. Peak Hearthstone design. Wow. See, it wasn't a great card, but I did like it. peak Hearthstone design though, man. Really, you must really like it. It's a fun card. It's not a bad card. It's a fun card, and it really embodies what Hearthstone's about, right? If everything was on the power level of this card, Hearthstone would be really interesting. Design sucks. Even if you remember, you got a blind guess of the time. This is a card that rewards you for understanding the game. It's just a weak card. There's just better cards at 3 mana, but that doesn't take away from the design. Balance and design are different, by the way, chat, just so you guys are aware. There's balance and design, right? Design wise, which this is what this guy said. Murloc Holmes is peak card design. It's not horrible. It's not a horrible take. I can get behind that. I think it's an interesting thought. I've never really put that much thought into how good this card actually is, but it's a pretty fun card. And I think it honestly is pretty well designed for what it is. I don't know if I would call it the best design card, but it's fun. Thief Priest is the most fun archetype. Very hot take here. Very hot take. I think Thief Rogue is more fun. Incorrect, Bantam. You guys are so mean. This is hot takes here, chat. They're supposed to get you riled up. Thief Priest is the most fun archetype. Fun to play, abysmal to play against. Well, okay. If we're talking like Thief Control Priest, yeah, it kind of sucks. I like Thief Rogue more though. Like I personally think that it's a more fun archetype with Thief Rogue. Because like Thief Rogue, you have tests and shit, and like you don't have to play Priest. So this is a hot. This guy's got double hot takes here. The new way cards are released with insane synergy and packages makes for boring deck experimentation as opposed to the older sets. I don't know if that's a hot take per se though. So I'll give you guys an example why they did this. I actually talked about this during Voyage. I think I made I called it like the mage problem or something. So in this expansion, mage got Nagas and they got like mech mage, right? They printed mech mage as like the main archetype for mage. The reason they do that is because when you're getting into a game post rotation, first I should say, actually, sorry. Hearthstone is most popular out of rotation because it's the easiest way to get into the game, right? And if you're coming right into the game, the best way of getting into the game is having a deck built for you. They don't want you to think about like, how do I build this deck, right? So if you're a brand new player and you don't want to go to find the best deck online, you just put all the mechs in your deck and you're chilling. So they designed that purposely for new players to get back into the game. This most recent expansion though, the Titans one, I think they kind of got over this a little bit. But I agree with it. I don't think this is a hot take at all though. Like, see, the problem is like, okay, this is an even hotter take is I don't think this is even a problem. The problem with Hearthstone right now is we have Vicious Syndicate and HS Replay. And both of those are a necessary evil that's going to happen regardless of if Blizzard wants it or not. And that streamlines decks way more than it used to, right? Back in the day when Hearthstone used to release an expansion, it was just a bunch of cards and people were scrambling to find the best deck possible. And it was so exciting to watch the first tournament of the year because that's when you see the quote unquote best decks in the game. Nowadays, it doesn't matter because people are just going to find the best decks anyways. The issue with doing this though is if you release Mech Mage and let's just say it's dead on arrival, then Mage is kind of dead for that expansion, which kind of sucks ass. So they have to be careful of how they balance it, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. One way to break the problem is adding modifiers to ladder, kind of what Battleground does. They probably will never do that though, David, because how do you balance it, right? Problem is that most legendaries need support. If they don't, unpacking them would feel ass. I mean, you're right. Like legendaries should have support and there should just be like in a vacuum legendaries that are good. But I'll tell you what, dude, like the days of this card, like they'll never make a card like this ever again. right? They won't just make a card on its own that can be put into almost every single deck because no one fucking played it. Like they don't need, yeah, Aslar is actually like a really good example of that. They don't need support. Like you could have, this is an Aslar. Hello, Blizzard website. They don't need support, right? They could just have good cards as legendaries. And it's completely fine to print a whole set based around one archetype. It's just, I think Blizzard realized that it's important to have just an easy access introduction to Hearthstone if you're like a brand new player. Yo, Jolo, thank you for becoming a supporter and gifting 5, bro. Thank you so much, man. Shout out to you, bro. All right. God, there's so many hot takes in here. This is fun. Chat, you good with this? You guys good with this for the rest of the stream? I was going to play Wild, but I'm just going to do hot takes. Aaron reads hot Hearthstone. Hot takes. We're just going to do this the whole stream. This is fun. Imagine playing the game. We'll play Wild tomorrow. Darkmoon Faire is an underrated expansion. The meta felt great. I feel so bad for Darkmoon Faire, dude. And I don't necessarily think this is a very hot take, but I actually legitimately feel bad back. I don't know why I'm like disconnecting and reconnecting constantly. My back chat? Hello? I should be back. Okay. I don't know what's happening with the internet today. Darkmoon Faire followed the atrocious release of the battle pass system. Do you guys remember that time? That was a very spicy time for Hearthstone. So when Darkmoon Faire was being released, it kind of got completely swept under the hype for the expansion got completely swept under the tragedy that was the battle pass system. So when Darkmoon Faire released, people weren't excited for it because they're like, who gives a fuck about this new expansion? My gold and income, rightfully so, was taken away from me, right? Like the people were very upset about it. So Darkmoon Faire kind of got screwed over right from the get-go. Now, the cards in that expansion, some of them are really fun, but, and this is my biggest but, and why I think that expansion does not deserve any more praise. How do I spell this? Ill. Is there like the apostrophe here? Fuck this card. This is, I hate Demon Hunter. Fuck this card. This card sucks ass. What if, like, I don't need to go on a fucking tangent here, but this card was released during that expansion. But in that expansion, you did get Yogg. You got all the old gods, right? You got a bunch of shit. It had potential, man. Hold on, let me reminisce. Let me go on a reminiscing train here to see what we got here. Yeah, Demon Hunter's fucking god. This card, oh my god. Druid was fine. Oh, this fucking card. But it had like, that was the mini set, so I don't know if I can really phase it. Hunter was fine. Mage was fine. Paladin. I'm getting rattled just looking at this expansion. Priest is fine. Goated card. Rogue is fine. From this release, I should say. Shaman was fine. Warlock was fine. Hey, it's everybody's favorite card. Warrior was fun. Warrior was fun. Warrior had actually a good archetype during that expansion. The clowns were cool too. I did like the clowns. What the fuck? Hey. Yo, can we stop dropping frames maybe, OBS? What the fuck, man? I don't know why I'm getting trolled. Sorry, chat. Also, let me put some music on. I don't know what's happening. I might have to restart my internet, but it's okay. I can't have a long stream anyways. All right, sorry, let's move on. Secrets are an incredible mechanic that reward game knowledge and decision making during your turn, and is an interesting way of developing tempo too. The thing holding them back is design cards like Objection and Counterspell, which sometimes don't leave the opponent with a choice at all and makes for frustrating experiences. Holy shit. Okay, I actually agree with this a lot. I actually do think that secrets are a really good mechanic in the game because it's the only way that we get to interact with our opponent on their turn, in a sense. Like, it's one of the few ways, I should say, because there's other ways of doing it. And I think secrets were designed very, very well in the early days of Hearthstone. Like, in the early days of Hearthstone, like, all the hunter ones were great because it did reward you for knowing the game, right? Like, knowing around, playing around explosive trap, knowing to play around freezing trap was fun, right? Mage is also a really good example, except for this one. Fuck this one. Paladins was also good. There's a lot of really good ways. As of more recently, Blizzard has been kind of a little bit more willing to give them a lot more power. So you get cards like this, which is really good. All right. You get cards like what's another really good? Like this one's really good in the early game, right? It's insane. Like this one's fucked. I hate this one so much. Now, it still embodies the core design of secrets, but I do think secrets should be like less in a vacuum and more like, this is a specific thing it does. You got to start playing around it now, just in case, right? This, like, I thought this one was a really good one. I think this one's great. This is a really well-designed secret. This one's great. Like, cause you have to think about, like, if I play a minion here and he has ambush, how do I react to this, right? I like that one a lot. This one's also good. This one's a really well-designed one. But then you have, like, where's the paladin? Oh, these are standard. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Like, this one sucks. This one sucked. I hated this one. This is one of my least favorite cards. There's some really good ones. Like, it's hard to just say, like, one of them sucks. I also think, like, some people are going to be very biased towards this because they play against Secret Mage. But in Wild, Oh My Yogg does not suck. It's not a bad card in terms of balance, but design-wise, in my opinion, it's fucking atrocious. How would you balance objection to make it less cringe? I don't think you can. Because you can't nerf it to 4 mana, right? And you could do, like, the next minion you play, its battle cry doesn't trigger. That'd be like the way you solve that issue, because at least you can play like a death rattle or something. But I don't know if they'll ever do that. This is disgusting. This is horrible design. I hate it. I had like a whole video talking about it because I fucking hate it. It's more fair than Counterspell, bro. It's a what? Do you know how many games I lost during Darkmoon Faire because of this card? Because it's a 1-mana Counterspell, and sometimes you just don't do anything with it. Sometimes it negatively hits you more. No. Horrible design. Horrible design. Anyways, we'll move on. Ben Brode leaving the best thing. Ben Brode leaving was the best thing to happen to the game. Oh my god. Ben Brode haters. I think what we lost with Ben Brode more than anything else was the charisma of him and his ability to. Yeah, I'm gonna restart OBS. Give me a sec. Are we back? My internet's fine. It's literally just OBS for the record, by the way. Like, I'm not losing internet. I'm losing like I'm losing like just OBS. Okay, sorry. What was I saying? Ben Brode being the game director of Hearthstone was really, really important for the game because we had a face for Hearthstone and we had someone basically like pushing the game forward in terms of just popularity and progress, right? But we talked about earlier, like some of his design was really iffy, but again, he was designing a game for new players. Basically what I'm going to say, chat, is if you want to learn more about Hearthstone, about his design, I hate plugging my channel more and more, but I think I called it, Is Hearthstone Good? What happened? Yeah. This video. Go watch this video. If you have some really strong feelings about Ben Brode, go watch it. Because I go through, like, I worked on this video with Hat, and we kind of described what Ben Brode did for the game, but also people just forget about the fucking... Bro, what's going on with OBS? Sheesh. Dropped. My back. What the fuck is going on, man? I'm just gonna keep talking. All right, I'm recording this for local anyways, which I'll send to David after. He'll make a video for this. You know, given the monetization, why do we give him things publicly in other aspects not related to gameplay? Because Ben Brode, okay, here, I'll give you an example, right? I am the brand of this channel, right? I'm the brand of this channel. But someone like David in chat edits my videos for me, and he does a great job. He's phenomenal, right? You could say that I don't edit a lot of my videos, so therefore David's carrying the channel, right? But if you drop the brand of me, it's less likely you're going to be interested in this channel because you don't have that face. You don't have that face. You don't have the brand anymore. Ben Brode's kind of the same deal. When Ben Brode left Hearthstone, it was a really big deal for a lot of people because that was like, Hearthstone's finally dead. Hearthstone died right there. That was the day Hearthstone died for a lot of people, is the day Ben Brode left. Because that was like the last thing that was holding people there. David, defend yourself. David's fine, man. He's awesome. Maybe start playing Cthulhu decks. Makes your OBS calm. I'm playing it on the second monitor. I just haven't told anybody. Anyways. I don't know if him leaving was the best thing that happened to the game, but I think him leaving allowed the game to evolve. And the fact, like, we got to remember, chat, even though you may think to yourself, Hearthstone's a shit game right now, like the amount of times I read Hearthstone in the current year, the fact that Hearthstone is still a very popular game almost 10 years after its release, it's pretty sick, right? So this does have merit to it, right? Because the game evolved, but it also had a lot of negativity associated to it. All right, Denathrius should never be nerfed. What did they do to Denathrius? Oh yeah, I forgot. It's been a while. All right, let's talk about Denathrius. Oh no, God, I'm scared for my internet today. So, if I remember correctly, his previous iteration was endlessly infused 1 instead of endlessly infused 2. The problem with Denathrius is that every single win condition for a lot of the decks during Nathria before it was nerfed was based on this card. So in Hearthstone, this is just design, like purely, when you lose to a card, you hate that card more because that's the last thing you see before either A, you lost the game, or you conceded. So this was the main win condition during Nathria, and I think people just fucking hated this card because it was the last thing they saw before they died, right? Now people don't play him. So I wonder, like, and that's been a year. Also, that was when Renathal was like really good. Bran was the problem as pure coat. Bran enabled more degeneracy with the card, but he wasn't necessarily the problem. Druid's the problem, if I'm going to be honest. I think if they unnerfed him now, he would be okay, though. I think that the kill pressure in this game is a little higher than it was during Nathria. So I could see him being unnerfed, but I don't know if they will. Because if they unnerf him and he ends up being, like, ridiculous, ugh. When is Druid not the problem? True. Shutterwalk needs to be amalgam. What? Does Shutterwalk even have a type? What the fuck is that take, bro? That's a hot take if I've ever seen one. He needs to be amalgam. Bro, this guy is still terrorizing wild. And they want him to be buffed? I guess maybe he's talking about the flavor of the card. No way, bro. He's the worst card in the deck, is he? Can you look at wild? Imagine playing Hearthstone in Wild. Imagine releasing a Wild expansion. No one plays this card. He's actually dead. Oh no, he's there. He's there. Drawn one right. He's not the worst card of the deck. What are you talking about? He's fine. He doesn't need a buff. But he's fine. When you play this card, you have an 80% win rate. That means when people see the first Shadow Walk, they're like, fuck that shit. I'm leaving. He does not need to be an amalgam. For flavor, like he's not even like an amalgam looking thing. I could say maybe Dragon Beast, but not an amalgam. Warrior needs Titan's Grip, dual wielding weapons in 2v2. Okay, hold on. What? So I think this is the same sentence, right? Warrior needs Titan's Grip, dual wielding weapons. The problem with this, I think the only reason they haven't done dual weapons is how do you do the UI and how do you balance it, right? Like if I attack, does it use both durabilities of the weapon? Do I get to pick which weapon I want? Like I think they've probably discussed it in private like design rooms. But I think they just haven't figured out how to do it properly. Titan's Grip is a warrior talent that allows them to dual wield two-handed weapons. Oh, so like, okay, so in a lot of games, if you're dual wielding a weapon, it does more damage. That could be cool. Are you going to BlizzCon? As far as I'm concerned, not yet. But I'm still thinking on it. That's just Wind Fury with extra steps? Not really, though. It's slightly different. I think it could be cool, like, to have this effect. I just don't know how they balance it, right? 2v2. Okay, this isn't a hot take at all, but I'm going to add this in anyways. I think that a 2v2 mode in Hearthstone would be the biggest thing they can do other than allowing us to combine classes to make decks. I am praying to God that the Hearthstone team behind the scenes is working on this. Either if it's for Battlegrounds or for Standard or it's for a new mode. I don't give a shit. Please add this to the game. All right. Rostakon's Rumble was a fun and well-themed expansion screwed over by its place in the rotation. No. That's not even a hot take, bro. That's a wrong take. Rostakon's Rumble was released in such a way that all of the cards, except for maybe like 6 of them, were fucking dog shit. Right? The mechanic was bad. They were balanced in a way that was bad. Their mana cost was too fucking high. It was a horrible expansion. Now, the reason why it was a horrible expansion is because they didn't want the game to keep getting power corrupt. So they released Rostakon's Rumble at such a low power level that the expansion sucked ass. Now, I am going to add, it was a very well-themed expansion. The flavor of the cards and the cards that we ended up getting was really cool. And that fucking trailer, dude. Oh my God. Awesome. But it was a fucking horrible expansion. It was rough. Pretty sure Rostakon's Rumble had less playable cards than the classic set. The classic set was actually really good. But yeah, it was a well-themed expansion. It's hard to say it was fun because how much of Rostakon's Rumble was actually in Rostakon's Rumble, right? That was still like a lot of Gen and Baku. And most of the cards weren't really great until rotation, until Rise of Shadows happened. But I guarantee a lot of people would have trouble naming like 10 cards. OTK Paladin though, but that wasn't really because of Rostakon's Rumble, right? It was because of Shirvala, and that's basically it. And maybe Timeout. I think Timeout was also from Rostakon's. I mean, we needed Rostakon's for the deck, right? We needed it for the deck. I understand that, but there was like maybe 10 cards you could probably name from this expansion. But during its time in Standard, it was awful. It was just not a good card. It was just not a good expansion. Blizzard has a long-term plan of eradicating slow decks in favor of fast, so the games are shortened. Oh. Is this a hot take? I mean, okay, they're definitely not. Them nerfing Renathal was a good indication that they wanted the game not to be as long, right? So they clearly don't want games to go on for so long. So I wouldn't even say this is a hot take, right? It's more like just a fact. Now, they're not eradicating all slow decks. Slow decks do exist in Hearthstone, but they're not as slow as they used to be because the idea of attrition and resources is kind of gone. Because most of the time against an aggro deck as a control deck, like what used to happen is like aggro decks are running out of steam and that's when you win the game, right? Nowadays, aggro decks just play forever and there's just a point where you just cross the corner. They'll still play shit, but the games are faster paced now because aggro decks constantly have resources, and same as control decks. So I wouldn't say that they're eradicating slow decks. They just made the slow decks more streamlined and they gave more resources to aggro decks in mid range. Honestly, they're kind of just eradicating mid range and making aggro decks be like a mid range deck. Actually, almost every single deck is like mid range now. That's kind of what it is, unless you're playing like straight combo or aggro. There's no attrition anymore. Attrition's gone. Maybe that's what they were going for this. The best buffs are nerfs. This is not a hot take. Buffing cards rarely accomplishes real change. Nerfs tend to be far more effective. That's also why the Caverns of Time won't help or push the needle and balance slightly. All right, let's get something clear. Let's get something clear here. This expansion, the Caverns of Time expansion, and you guys can quote me on this, is not a wild expansion. All right, they lied. Let's be real here. I think they want it to be a wild expansion, but wild legitimately needs help for it to actually be impactful whatsoever. It's for twist. It's for twist. Like, that's just facts. Now, this is correct because the best buffs are nerfs because, and I actually did a video like this a while ago, and I love using this analogy. Chat, imagine you have a very tall building, right? This is your tall ass building right here. This building is the best deck in the game, right? This is another deck. Now you can notice that this building is shorter than this building, right? This building, if you make it taller, aka buffing it, is going to raise it, but it's still, this building is still very tall, right? And in order for this building to get lower, you have to break it a little bit. So you nerf it, and then you try to balance it here like this. That's what you want to do. So he's right. Buffs don't really do anything unless it's insane. Unless the buff makes the card borderline broken, which has happened. We've been there for like Luna's Pocket Galaxy going to 5 mana. I remember that shit. All right, anyways. We need a Highlander card in every expansion. L analogy? What do you mean? We need a Highlander card every expansion. Nah. Does it make sense? How the fuck does that not make sense? I think if you didn't get my analogy, you're the problem. I think it's just a skill diff. We need a Highlander card in every expansion. Not really. Highlander is cool in small doses. When Highlander becomes too good for too long, it starts to get a little annoying. Like, I think a lot of us were like kind of over Highlander when like Darkmoon Faire. Actually, Darkmoon Faire, like, when was Zeph existing? I guess like near the end of Descent of Dragons, people were like, I can go without it for a little bit. What's Highlander? Highlander is a deck that only has no duplicates and usually have a payoff card like Zephyrus or Rena or something. Who breaks buildings? Your mom. That's what you're focusing on in that analogy. You're focusing on the semantics of how a building gets broken. All right, anyways. That actually made me laugh, man. Na, 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 na. All right. The most powerful cards ever printed in the game is unnerved 2-mana Elucia at number 1, Patches with Charge at number 2, and unnerved Innervate at number 3. Unnerved Elucia was the best aggro card ever printed in the time when Priest did not yet have an aggro type that formed the archetype around it in Wild for 1 week. It also made Temperance viable. Okay, I'm going to break this down slowly. This is a hot take. I don't think this was the best card ever printed in the game. No fucking shot, bro. No shot. Was it really good? Yeah, it was. It was a card that could just stop your opponent from playing the game. But you're comparing it to my boy here, Patches the Pirate, with Charge. which made every single deck in the game play the pirate package. This is the goated card. This is the goated card. This card was also very fucking good though. Unnerfed Innervate. Oh my god. That was a fucking god, man. I remember Innervate being 2 mana. Oh fuck, that was so gross. That's a really hot take. Do you got, for those of you who don't remember, hold on. Mine render. I hardly know her. This is what this card did, in case you don't remember. So basically what you do is you would play a board, you'd play your aggro board, you'd empty your hand, you drop this card, your opponent gets your hand, you have nothing, and then they can't react to your board, you just lose. It was a good card. They nerfed it for sure because it was fucking miserable to play against. But I don't know, man. Patches with charge was so fucking good. Also, Under Immunity was also insane. In defensive 2-mana Innervate, the trade-off was 1 card slot for Timber 2 mana. It's strong by itself. That argument doesn't make any sense though, because you wouldn't be able to ramp into something earlier if it wasn't for that card. Like you put a card in your deck for it to be good, and it was very good. It was actually like, I think Renathal even made a video on it, like during, I forget expansion what it was, like Rostic, like Frozen Throne maybe. Like they had to nerf the card because Druid was just fucking rolling people because Innervate was that good. I don't agree with this take though. Non-interactive decks are some of the most fun and skill. Oh my, hold on, hot take alert. Non-interactive decks are some of the most fun and skill expressive ones. Like the old Flamewaker, Sorceress Apprentice, OTK, and Wild was really hard to pilot and so much fun. Let me read the comments before I even comment on this. Some of the most recent Heal Priest wasn't skillful at all. They're fun, but only to the person playing them. Yes! Mega Based! Good take, but those types of decks should be difficult to play with. If you manage to win the game by 6 or 7 with the same interactive combo, it's bad game style. So Hearthstone, for those of you guys may not agree with this, but Hearthstone really tries to have a 0-sum fun game to a positive sum fun game. And let me bring the paint out so we can describe what that means. Okay. Basically you have player, hold on, that's too big. You have player 1, right? And then you have player 2. Okay. If player 1 is having 5, we'll just do +5, right? But player 2 is not having any fun. Let's just do -5. That, what does that equal, chat? Everyone together. What's +5? 5 minus 5. What does that equal? Oh, great job, chat. It equals 0, right? So that is a 0-sum fun game, right? That means that one player is having fun, another player is not having fun, but on average, it's just kind of whatever, okay? Now, the goal for every game designer, especially in a PvP game, is to do this. This is legitimately the goal, and I guarantee if I brought any of the developers on right now, they would say the exact same thing. Hold on. They want their opponent, your opponent, to just do this. They just want to have 0. Because if your opponent's at 0, they're neutral. That means you're having a positive sum fun game, right? You have a +5. That means the game in general is just fun. Right? It's fun for somebody. Someone's not having a negative time. That's the inevitable goal of every game designer. Actually, the dream, I guess, is to have also fun, but it's hard to do it in a game like Hearthstone, right? But what ends up happening with the combo thing is that, generally speaking, there's -5, so it equals out, or the person is having such a horrible time that it's like -10. So you may have fun, but your opponent is having such a miserable time that they're not going to be playing another game of Hearthstone, which was basically, for the record, what United and Stormwind was for a lot of players. That's why I hated it so much, is because I didn't want to play the game anymore. So that's what the goal for every game designer is. I promise you, for every PvP, that's what they try to accomplish. The problem with these decks is that it inevitably makes somebody just not have fun ever. And because they're just watching their opponent play the game, and it generally feels like, especially if the opponent just doesn't interact with you, that you're playing solitaire until you lose the game, which is, it's a miserable feeling, right? It's a miserable feeling. So this is probably the most fun if you're the one playing it and having a good time, because you're probably winning if you could do the combo. But a lot of the time what ends up happening is the skill expressive aspect of the deck is just playing the deck consistently so you understand when to use a card and when you don't need to use a card. When a combo deck has you interact with your opponent and you have to think about when you need to use a combo card, that's the most fun that it could be. So I'll show you a really good example of this actually is Freeze Mage back in the day. People will tell me I'm coping, but the idea of like playing around Frost Nova and playing around Blizzard was actually really interesting, right? And understanding when you have to actually like kill your opponent. But from the main's perspective, it was like, do I need to use this resource right now or can I hold on to it? There was more back and forth. But again, even in that case, a lot of people going against Freeze Mage probably just didn't have a good time playing against it, right? Because you just lost at some points. But there was also a direct counter to it, which was Warrior. So it kind of like, it had an equilibrium where sometimes when you get a non-interactive deck, especially in Wild, it just feels like you can't do anything. And it just sucks. It's just unfun. We actually played Wild a couple days ago and we did what was the deck chat? Like Tony Druid. And I won the game on like turn 6 and I didn't even really interact with my opponent. I think I cleared 1 mini in the whole game and then he just lost. So yeah, is Rarran trying to be hired by the Blizzard through these speeches? You think I want to go work at Blizzard? You think I want to get hired from Blizzard? Are you fucking high? You're smoking crack, bro. Actually, is today Thursday? Ah, it makes sense why you're smoking crack. Free milk. Free, you guys are, that's fucking awful, man. Crack Thursday. Yeah, there you go. David's in it. Said it before, I'll say it again. Tony Jordan is the worst deck ever devised in Hearthstone. In Wild, you mean? Tony, again, is another card that I think is like very, very negative, some fun card. But I love it because I got the signature. All right. It's only still popular because it was the first digital card game that blew up and put TCG on the map for a lot of gamers. I actually think this is a hot take for the wrong reason. Hearthstone is popular because it's the most accessible card game currently online. And it's also the best experience for a card game online. Don't fucking at me, chat. That is just facts. Objectively, it's the best experience for a card game. And that's why it's still so popular. Because it's just a good fucking game. I think that the sunk cost of people's like time and money definitely help it be more popular because people don't want to leave a game where they've put so much time and money into it, obviously. But I think if Hearthstone was on Steam, I think it would be the highest card game on the Steam ladder easily. What percentage of Hearthstone player base is Battlegrounds players? I mean, that question's hard to answer though, right? But this person said it's only still popular because, right? They didn't say like standard is only popular. Hearthstone is a very, very Hearthstone encompasses Battlegrounds with it, unfortunately, right? It's a good game. All right. They've clearly thought about it. When Ben Lee was the director of the game, he specifically made Hearthstone so it was like its own client in a client. So that's why you have like Mercenaries, duels, dungeon runs, Battlegrounds, arena, like a bunch of different ways of playing the game. Even though they're all under the Hearthstone umbrella, Hearthstone is all of that. Even though some of you might be like, it's standard only. I only think about Hearthstone as standard only, but like, that's just not the case, right? This is how you think about it. I disagree with this. Sonny wants to have a talk with you with that take. I mean, listen, I'm going to be just completely transparent here. Runeterra is not nearly as popular as Hearthstone for a very specific reason, right? Hearthstone is just an easier game and it's a better experience. For the average person, most people like Hearthstone more than Runeterra. And I can tell you this because Runeterra has to make every one of their cards super free to play to even have a player base. Every single time I bring up Runeterra and anything, the only thing that people say about is, but Runeterra is so free to play. Who gives a fuck, bro? They have to do that. All right, anyways, that's my TED Talk. Duels should be a dungeon run type of deck building, but with a lot more choices on passives to choose from or cards in general. But that's not really duels anymore. be like a different game mode at that point, right? It should just be like, you should cut duels and just say dungeon run type of deck building, but with a lot more choices and passives to choose from. Like, I think you just cut the first part. Like, it should just be the sentence. And I agree with this. It's not really a hot take here. Hearthstone is pretty accessible if you're a free-to-play player. That's facts, but nothing will ever be as soul-sucking as logging into the day of rotation and seeing all 3 of your decks you just made get converted into wild. Yeah, so Reynad, I was watching Reynad stream the other day because he was talking about, like, he wanted to follow up his update for the Bazaar or whatever. And one of the things he said was Hearthstone has a very archaic form of, like, dust and economy. And the biggest drop off for Hearthstone was after the grand tournament because of rotation. When the first rotation happened, there was a huge drop off of players because people realized that a lot of their cards are no longer going to be playable, and people were pissed about it. Hearthstone currently is a lot more free to play accessible, and you get a lot more in 2023 Hearthstone. But back in the day, I'd never really considered how much of an impact it really had. I was thinking that the grand tournament was so shit that it just felt bad that put money into a game where, like, your cards might not even be playable, so people left. But the rotation probably had a huge impact. That being said, rotation's really good for the game because it keeps the game fresh. And we see what happens when you don't have rotations. I'm not going to say the game out loud, but, like, yeah. All right, anyways, let's move on. All right. Discover and randomness are, when used well, are actually candidates for skill expression. Yes. And then you have to work with what's being given to you on a game basis rather than the same deck over and over. Okay. This is actually a really good line. Randomness is skill expression. Picking the right card from your Discover actually ends up mattering quite a bit. It is a big deal. But it is very hard to see that because you don't get to see the other options that your opponent gets. When your opponent plays a discovered card, it feels fucking awful sometimes because it's like, oh, they have the perfect card that they obviously discovered, right? But you don't get to see their thought process picking the card. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes you just need a removal. You pick the removal, right? But I don't want to like any of these because then I show bias. But I agree with this actually a lot. It's a trade-off, right? But I think this is a pretty base take. Yogg-Saron has always been pure skill. I mean, sometimes they go overboard, right? But you could say that with literally everything. It's all about a balancing act, right? Discover is by far the mechanic that seemed the most fun when it was introduced, but now is arguably ruining the game. Okay, before I even comment on this, chat, do you think Discover is a good mechanic? I'm gonna put you guys like over the black box here. Yes. I like it. Great mechanic. Yeah, the guy is right. Incredible mechanic. Discover is a good mechanic comparative to random generation. Yeah, I think that's fair. So I don't think the Discover mechanic has gotten worse over the years. I talked about this earlier, but the problem with Discover right now is that there's no longer a trade-off for using it, right? Cards with Discover are just good cards now. Before, like, if I go chat, I don't know how many of you guys have actually looked at League of Explorers cards, but let's go look at the Discover cards in here, shall we? Look at this. Some of them are miserable, bro. Like, this one was good. This one was fine. This one was fine, right? This actually got buffed recently. This one was good. But then you get cards like this, right? It was playable back in the day, but you literally traded tempo for a generation, right? Same with this thing. This card was fucking like, it was cool to see, but it was just never playable because it was so fucking slow, right? Same with Tomb Spider. You trade off for tempo to get a resource. Nowadays, when we look at Discover, I'll just go to the most recent expansion, right? Discover a spell from your deck. If it's a frost spell, freeze it. Like, that's just a fine card, right? This card's insane, right? You don't lose any tempo. You don't really lose any tempo because you get the tempo back later, right? This card's nuts. Like, there's so many good cards in the expansion now, or so many good Discover cards in the pool that Discover doesn't have a trade-off anymore. Yeah, Teacher's actually probably the best example. Like, Teacher's insane. Really, really good card. Like really, really good card. So there's no longer a trade-off for tempo anymore. And that's probably the issue with a lot of discovered cards, right? But again, I think their design is Hearthstone doesn't want to make you feel like you shouldn't play your cards or whatever. Anyways, that's my take on Discovery, which I think is probably sound. Oh god, another priest player. Okay, priest is constantly one of the most interesting classes in the meta, and I can't fathom why it's consistently the most hated. Well, fucking Christ, bro. Let me tell you why. It's the worst class to play against. They just fucking remove everything, and you're just sitting there like a fucking ape. It is okay. To be fair, priest does get a lot of spice. All right, priest is one of the when it comes to cooking the priest cards, they definitely give them a lot of interesting ideas. But I don't know how you can't look at the priest class and understand why it's one of the most hated. Most hero powers are so weak at their current power level that if it weren't specific decks to buff their utility, removing them wouldn't leave a big dent. Wow. That's an interesting one. The thing is though, most of the hero powers were designed to not be what you want to do every single turn. Some of them are like you can utilize them more depending on the archetype you're playing. But I'm pretty sure that they weren't designed to be used every single turn or whatever, right? And to be fair, right? In 2013, 2014 Hearthstone, hero powering wasn't like the greatest thing to do either. It just depends on what you're playing. But hero powers have gotten worse because they were designed 10 years ago. So I think that's kind of obvious, right? The two best hero powers in the game are the two newest ones, other than maybe Warlock, right? Or Warlock's still goated. Actually, no, that's not even true. Hunter's probably fucking still goated anyways. Hunter's probably the best hero power in the game still. I think that if they were removed though, it would leave a big dent in the game. It would leave a dent. Hunter becomes a much worse class without their hero power. Warlock becomes a less consistent class for the cards that they get without their hero power. Death Knight loses a lot of its potential with corpses without it. Demon Hunter feels like it needs the +1 hero power, but it's it's not as urgent or it's not as necessary. I feel like it would be a big enough dent that you would definitely notice it. Like it'd be weird. I don't think I think removing it would leave a big dent. There should be a game mode where you could choose up to 5 cards that you don't want to play. Dude, this would literally be like they would call it like the salt queue, where like you lose to a card and you're like, fuck that card, and then I don't want to play against that card. That's a hot take, dude. I don't know if they'll ever do something like that, but what they would do potentially is, because they've talked about it before, like just ban a class from queue. Like you could ban a class a month. I'd ban Demon Hunter and just never play against it. But then it gets really weird with balancing, right? Because if I never have to play against Demon Hunter, I just play the deck that's the worst against Demon Hunter. Then you're chilling. Be crazy.
Warlock hero power used to be considered so strong that Warlock had to get weaker cards to balance it.
You're right. Warlock's hero power used to be, in my opinion, the best hero power in the game. But what he is saying, like with this one, is in current year of Hearthstone, like it's not nearly as powerful as it used to be, right? Because the reason why Warlock's hero power was so good was because you didn't have consistent cards in your hand. So Warlock's hero power allowed you to get consistent cards. But nowadays it's not as important because you just have ways of getting cards. That's the issue with it. All right. Druid ability to ramp is the fairest form of mana cheat. Yeah. It depends. It depends. It depends. I'll give you a good example of this. This card at 2 mana decided games. Decided games. What's that guy's name? Is it Keeper? No. What's the 4 mana guy's name? What's that guy called? He's like the garden boy. What's his name? Widowbloom, thank you. This guy is a little bit better because it's on 4 mana instead of 2. Like this is a good way of doing it. Maybe they didn't. I think this is fine. I'm never upset when my opponent plays this card anymore, because I think it's like this is probably a good way of doing balance for ramping. But I promise you, because this is actually like, now that I have Magic experience, ramping makes more sense balance wise in Magic because you still have to draw your lands, so you take more draws to get more mana. Where in Hearthstone, because you don't have to do that, it can feel really like awful to play against 2 mana Wild Growth. I think this is a better design card. This is a better design card. In current Hearthstone, this is like a pretty balanced way of doing it. So it really, like, obviously this is a hot take if a lot of us in chat are like, what the fuck is he talking about? It really depends on how they do it, right? Again, it's definitely more of a balancing act, but Druid has had some weird fucking ass mana cheating that has felt horrific. Also, like, this card was also another really weird example. Really weird. Ramp is not mana cheat. You're right. In Hearthstone, it's the same. Wild Growth, you sacrifice a card for 1 more land, literally like a land. Yeah, but you don't have to draw lands. Like in a game of Magic, half of your basically almost half your deck is lands, right? So you have to draw lands in order for you to get more mana, right? Which allows the green color to print cards that have more ramping abilities because it's balanced based on the fact that you draw lands, right? You could say, oh, you draw Wild Growth, but it's only 2 cards of your deck. It's not nearly the same as lands. Like, I was playing Magic last week, bro. Like, it's actually, I was just editing the video of like later in this game, like later in the video of the Magic one, you draw lands at turn 8 and it's fucking horrendous, right? It's one of the worst experiences ever. Where in Hearthstone, you don't have to think about that nearly as often because most of the time you're not drawing dead cards when you draw them. I think Wild Growth was, especially at 2 mana, was just too, it's too polarized. Like it was just too polarizing of a card, especially as cards got stronger. Still not mana cheating though, it's investment. That's completely fair. Oh shit. God dang it. I didn't realize how many of these comments there were. Okay. Witchwood was one of the best Hearthstone expansions after the massive power creep that was Karazhan. I know you're in chat. I saw you typing, but you do realize that the expansions that were before this expansion were like the 3 most powerful expansions of all time in Hearthstone. Like Ungoro, Frozen Throne, and Kobolds were still in the game when this came out, and there also was like, it was a slowdown. Yeah, that's true. It was one of the best expansions after the massive power group that was Karazhan. I mean, if you're comparing Witchwood to Karazhan, like, I fucking despise Karazhan. Like, it was one of the worst times in Hearthstone, unironically, right? It was fucking miserable. Like, when I look back on Karazhan, I hated the expansion. Like, I literally, the best part about Karazhan was the adventure, and that's all I can talk about, because the rest of it was one of the worst experiences in Hearthstone. Like, whatever that Shaman deck was disgusting. So if you're comparing Witchwood to Karazhan, I 100% agree with you. I think Rise of Shadows would be a better example of this, because I think it brought the power level where it should be. The commoners should be able to defend themselves. Bro, what? You know how long that would take? Mill decks are easily the most satisfying decks to play. All right, bro, this one's like spice. This one's straight out of the oven. Most people fucking hate mill decks. It's like, I think mill decks people fucking hate. This is like the same thing as like not interactive decks though, right? Like, people just don't like losing to nonsense. Permaban. Key point to play. Yeah, exactly. Playing against him, sure, it's fun. Playing against it could be pretty fucking miserable. I actually see a lot of comments talking about how much people hate Mill Druid in Wild right now. I will find this guy's home. It's hard to call this a hot take because it's like everyone has their preference, right? Some people just like mill decks more than any other deck. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but I can understand why someone would like it, so I'm just gonna move on. Making mummies would be good if they actually kept making reborn paladin minions. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, I don't think this is a hot take either. Like, yeah, the card would be better if they printed more reborn minions for paladin. So yeah, you're right. Like, okay, cool. Priest had 2 of the funniest archetypes ever for both players, Thief and Galakrond Priest. Warrior is the most frustrating class to play against and also the most boring to play with. This is subjective. We've seen people talk about this before, so I'll move on from this one. But this one's very, very interesting. Warrior's the most frustrating class to play against?
Mill was only fun when the deck was bad.
Mill was only fun when the deck was bad. Yeah, I get behind that. When Cold Light Oracle, like Mill Rogue was kind of a thing. That was kind of fun. 2 is very interesting. I think Warrior is a pretty fair class, to be honest. I can't think of a lot of times where Warrior is like bullshit. The only time I think Warrior was just absolutely like insane was just Pirate Warrior and Mean Streets. But like Warrior's the most frustrating class to play against. Often comes up as just like, is it a control deck? I don't like playing against control, then I move on with my life, right? I love Warrior. Warrior is one of my favorite classes of all time, I think. Pyro and Alterac. So Pirate Warrior in general, people just don't like, right? Warrior's too fair is the issue. I don't think that's true at all. Warrior's had some really good, like, do people forget how fucking good Warrior is, like, or was? Like, what's wrong with, like, how do you guys get so blinded by that? Like, it's fucking, it's one of the best classes throughout Hearthstone's history. New players, Keck W. Man, I don't even know how to respond to this. Like, this is purely just like an opinion thing, right? Like, maybe you just hate fucking playing against Warrior. I wish he gave more context of like what type of Warrior he doesn't like to play against. Also, the most boring to play with. Again, it really depends. Like, in the last couple of years, I think this is a completely fair thing to say. But over Hearthstone's history, I just can't. Like, Warriors had some fucking awesome decks. How long have you played Hearthstone for? In years. Don't tell me expansion date. Tell me years. How many years have you played Hearthstone for? Just so I can understand where your chat's coming from. Warriors in the top 10 class of Hearthstone. Nice. Fuck. So you guys, a lot of you guys have been here for a while. All right, chat, start speaking up then, man. You guys have been here for fucking 8 years. Start talking about how good Warrior was. I can't be the only one. Like, this class has had so many fun archetypes. All right, anyways, we'll move on. Arena is the purest form of Hearthstone. Like, I mean, it's definitely a game mode in Hearthstone. I don't know if it's the purest, because how do you define what purest is? Like, it was in the game at the beginning, but so was Classic. So, I don't know, man. I think Arena is, if you like board-centric decks, I think that's where people will really go. Purest equals the one I like. Well, it depends on what you think the purest form of Hearthstone is. Is it board-centric? Like, currently right now, I don't think Arena's in a great spot, right? But over Hearthstone's history, like, Arena has been the most board-centric way to play the game, right? I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this at all. I think this is cope. I think this is just straight cope. Arena can be good, but I don't think it's the purest way of playing Hearthstone. I think just the regular game is. All right, Kobolds and Catacombs Dungeon Run is the best solo adventure to date. We've talked about this before. Down in Heist was better. Also, I like Priest more than Mage. That's okay. Priest is the most fun class. What the fuck? What's with all these Priest players in here? Creating the core set to be the introduction cards is an unreasonable punishment for a loyal player base. Holy fuck. Bro, this is the hottest take ever. Oh my god, what? Wow. Wow. That's so okay. I'm gonna say something out loud, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I am under the idea that if my life was very hard, I wouldn't want the person like, okay, sorry. If I worked at a job and when I got to the job, it was fucking hard, it was very difficult, and it was like I had to struggle to get to where I was, right? And here comes a new person. I wouldn't want that person to go through what I went through, right? I would want them to have a better time than I did because I knew how awful it was starting off. I don't want that person to suffer like I did, right? And that's what the core set's basically for. It's a huge way for people to get into the game without them buying a bunch of stuff, right? That's my thought process. So like, I don't think the punishment for new players should be there because you're a loyal player. I don't think I really disagree with this take. I really agree. I really disagree with this. The core set is arguably the one, not arguably, it's one of the best things that the Hearthstone team has ever done. Still feels like a gut punch when other people get for free what you work for, but like, don't you have like empathy? Like if I'm suffering, I wouldn't want the person to suffer after me, right? I would want them to have a better life. I would want them to have an easier time. Like that's what that's what my parents did for me. Right? My parent, like my dad still tells me like, oh, like back in my day, I did this shit. But like, they don't want that for me. Like they want me to go past it. They do it to be like, you don't know how good you have it. Right. And I guess that's like what you want to say. Like, I legitimately think the core set is such a big deal for players. And it's one of the biggest reasons why like people are getting into the game again, because it's easier to get into. There's such a big deal. Like, it's such a big deal. I'm confused about what he's trying to say. I think he's saying like, because I put money into this game and I've been here for a really long time, the fact that we're giving so many cards for free in the core set is awful. Or like, because I own the classic set or something, because they changed the classic set for the core set. This has to be bait. Well, it's a hot take, right? That's a very hot take. I don't know how I feel about that one. Really weird. Could reward players who already have the cards. I'm not disagreeing with that at all, man. I'm not. I think, like, again, Blizzard, like, this game doesn't, like, it's not like Blizzard loses money if they give us like extra packs for owning classic cards, right? I agree with you 100%, but that doesn't take away the fact that the core set is just objectively beneficial for almost every single player in the game. It's like rich people being mad that they don't get an extra $1 million when they already have $30 million, right? Like, you have $30 million. Sorry, maybe that's not even a good enough answer. It's like Elon Musk being mad that he dropped $1 million when the guy's worth like $200 billion. Like, to him, it's fucking nothing. But to imagine someone picked up $1 million when they need it the most, like, it's a huge deal. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. But I think that's fucking ape shit. Solo adventures are less fun now with the current structure, as the unique rewards were super enticing. Also, the number of cards in the standard set is too large. I like mini sets, but I prefer them to earn them with the solo adventure gameplay. Okay, let's break this down. Let's break this down. The solo adventures are less fun now with their current structure, as the unique card rewards are super enticing. I don't know what the unique card rewards are. Does anyone know what this is? I think the solo adventures are less fun now because the AI is dog shit. So it definitely took away a lot of the struggle and challenge for the solo adventures. But I don't know what this is. Does he mean the Book of Heroes is lame? Oh, maybe. Your Lothebs and Thors. Oh, he's saying how, okay. So he's saying like in Nax Ramus, you played the adventure and you got cards for it, right? They don't do that anymore. They just drop mini sets. Also, the number of cards in standard set is too large. Chat, how do you guys feel about this? I personally don't really care. I think the more cards, the better. I think the more ways to play the game, the better it is for everybody. But how do you guys feel about this? Because there's currently in the standard set, give or take with the core set, and we're still missing one mini set, and we're missing 2 mini sets and an expansion. More cards equals better. MTG sets are almost twice as big. Without without considering the free to play aspect of it, because that doesn't seem to be the problem here. I think he's just saying there's too many cards in the set. I'm under the impression that more cards is better. Like, I'd rather have more toys to play with than less. I think that's just a fair assessment. I like the mini sets, but I prefer them to earn through solo adventure gameplay. So I think that they stopped doing this because they have to pay somebody to do the voices. They have to pay someone to do the art. They also have to design like the fights and shit. And people were playing them not to really enjoy the solo adventure, just to get the cards. So they probably figured that most people just don't give a fuck and they just want the cards anyways. So here's my hot take, chat. I would prefer 4 expansions instead of 3 mini sets. That's my hot take. Poor indie game devs, Blizzard. Play against priest players are like playing with the devil, but if the devil were also torturing himself at the same time as you, bro, that's not a hot take, man. Everyone agrees with this. Renathal nerf was a mistake. Also, game shooter earned on 10-8 to a combo from hand. Board shouldn't matter. Again, not really a hot take. I guess this is kind of depending on who you are as a person, but I think most people would probably agree with this. At least most people in the chat probably agree with this. Before Demon Hunter, Druid was the most experimental class with almost everything and the most annoying mechanics. Now Demon Hunter took his role and I can finally enjoy playing with Anne versus Druid. Holy fuck. Okay, hold on. Before Demon Hunter, Druid was the most experimental class with almost everything and the most annoying mechanics. I mean, all right, let's be real here. Throughout Hearthstone's history, the best class in the game of all time is Druid. Like, I stand behind that. I think Druid has been objectively the best class throughout Hearthstone's history. But I don't think they're the most experimental class. I think the most experimental class is Shaman. Shaman is the fucking just the weirdest class because you either get absolute dog shit or you get something insane. And sometimes you get something in between, but it's also kind of dog shit. Shaman's the fucking the guinea pig for most of the shit. Like, I feel like Shaman has gotten some really fucking weird archetypes over the years. Wrong take? What do you think the most experimental class in the game is? It's not Druid. Druid has had way too many good archetypes. I think it's Shaman. Nah, he has a point. Warlock also, but I'm gonna say Warlock is like a little bit different because they tried to design Warlock based on like the flavor of Warlock. They really try. Sometimes with Shaman, you just get batshit shit. Like you get stuff that like doesn't make sense. I'll say Rogue can be the most. Rogue is also an interesting take, sure. Priest is also a good fair. I just don't think it's Druid. Now Demon Hunter and the most annoying mechanics. Again, I don't think Druid has the most annoying mechanics. I think they just have the most powerful mechanics on average. They just get really good shit. And it's more annoying because it's like, why does that class get that when my class doesn't? Now Demon Hunter took his role and finally I can enjoy playing versus Druid. I will say this. I agree with this take. I think fucking Demon Hunter has the most annoying mechanics in the game. I'll say it. I said it before chat and I'll say it again. Fucking hate that class. I think it's the worst class to play against. It never makes me excited to play against Demon Hunter. I'm never excited to play against it. It's always some fucking bullshit with that class. Their identity is mana cheating. So, and they're aggressive. It's mana cheating and aggressive. Fuck that class. I agree with that. It's easy to stay competitive without having to pay for anything as long as you're impulsive about what you dust and craft. Yes, this is fine. This shouldn't be a hot take to anybody. In Hearthstone right now, for anyone who's saying like, oh, if I'm a free-to-play player and I can't get it, if you make a brand new deck right now, or brand new account right now, you literally get a free deck that you can craft literally anything. Like any like meta deck basically. You get a lot of cards at the start, so you are at least able to get one competitive deck when you start a new Hearthstone account right now. Like if you went to go start a new account right now. Now, does that mean you get a lot of cards to play with? No, because you're not paying money, right? Like the whole point of a business is to make money. They can't give everything for free, right? Hearthstone goal is to be fun and fun enough that they want you to spend money. But if you want to be free to play, you can. That's the goal for Hearthstone. It's just people confuse like having cards as making the game less competitive, I guess. Because you could easily get again, I was doing that fucking stream. I just stopped streaming it because you guys are a bunch of fucking apes. But you can do really well with just being a free-to-play player. And that might be a hot take for some of you if I'm going to be real, but that's just my genuine opinion. Hey man, just binged your channel this week past after the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Love your content. Oh no, not a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Hey man, glad you like the stuff. Have you thought about trying something Cardfight Vanguard? People have taught it to me, but I'm not going to talk about it. You can be competitive, but you want to have fun. Fun is subjective, man. Fun is subjective. So you may think it's not fun because you have to play like 2 decks, but that's like, what do you want Blizzard to give you every card? You never finished the free-to-play climb? No, I'll tell you what happened, actually. Free-to-play, what happened was I was doing it on stream so I can make a video called I Got to Legend Free-to-Play. And the idea that I had was I took the base deck that Hearthstone had, that Hearthstone gives you, and I was trying to climb to Legend with it, right? And it wasn't the most interesting gameplay, don't get me wrong. I was playing like pure Paladin. But literally, I was like Diamond 5. But the amount of people in my chat telling me that I did a free to play, by the way, wrong, made it the most miserable experience I have ever dealt with ever in a stream. So I said I was going to do it off stream, but then I realized I was like, even if I did that video, right? The comments I would read in the like to dislike ratio would be like, it wouldn't be worth it. So I just moved on. So that's why I didn't finish it. All right. The best deck in the game ever in Wild was Big Death Rattle Rogue last year. The ones that cheated out 8/8s with Rush with Illusionist and the 3-mana spell that draws Death Rattles and the field spell that doubles them. I have no opinion on this because I don't play Wild. Chat, confirm or deny? No, it's Cataclysm Soul Barrage first deck, which caused the Cataclysm nerf. Isn't it just like the Demon Seed? Isn't the Demon Seed just the best Wild deck of all time? Like, I feel like you just won the game. I could be wrong, but I got no thoughts on this. I think Shaman needs some inherent rework as a class. No other class has the feast or famine identity that Shaman does. They're either the best class in the game or practically. Hey, I just said this. I don't know if Shaman needs a rework per se, but I think they definitely need to have like more of a direction. It's not like Shaman needs to be fully reworked. Like, they have a good identity. They just need to focus more. They need to have more focus, because it seems like every expansion they get some batshit stuff. Like, that's what I mean. Like, Shaman's the experimental class. I would appreciate them. Actually, Shaman this past expansion has been pretty good. Titans did a good job. I think Shaman needs like a direction though. Like, it doesn't have a direction. It's like totems in nature, which is apparently not enough. I don't know if that's a hot take though. Arena should rotate a lot more often. Plus, not that hot of a take now. I think printing more arena only cards would be amazing. I don't know if they would ever do that. We'll talk about this one in a second. Runestones were not bad. They were not good though. They're more like whatever. Yeah, see, the thing about Runestones, like Runestones was like their like in-game currency for Hearthstone. Again, I don't know why they made it to begin with, because it feels like they don't even use them anymore. But the concept behind it was it allowed them to make items for smaller purchases. Like, okay, hold on. If you buy an emote for Battlegrounds and it's $1, like they didn't want to charge you $1 every single time. So if you buy Runestones, right, that means they could skip that transaction fee, and then they could sell you like cheaper items. And they did this, but then I think they just stopped doing it. So that's basically what that was. I don't know. I don't really, whatever. If Blizzard were going to make something more expensive, the Runestones community would have noticed that. It definitely, yeah, it definitely wasn't as big of a deal. Arena should rotate a lot more often. I don't really have thoughts on this. I think Arena probably should have a bigger pool of cards though. Like I think Arena's at its best when there's like a lot less synergies in it, because that what makes the Arena like way more interesting in my opinion. So I would appreciate them doing like less synergistic sets and letting that do its thing. Also, they should probably like ban every card that is just outright just disgusting. Like Titans probably shouldn't be in Arena, and they're currently in Arena. They'll probably never do an Arena only set though. There's no way. Guff hero card was refreshing and made the Druid class the most fun it's been. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. I do agree with this though, man. I think one of my favorite moments in Hearthstone is playing with Guff. I think it's very easy to hate this card, but playing him is pretty fucking fun because it breaks the rules of the games. And I think cards that break the rules of the game make for fun cards. And above all else, Hearthstone's supposed to be a fun game to play. And I think Guff allowed people to do that. Now, I don't agree with this one because I think the tier card was kind of fucking cringe. Yeah. Death Knight was a mistake. This class is in a pigeonhole with the rune system and makes other classes suffer for its requirement to have 3 separate archetypes, removing the option to add dimensions to other classes in the future. Okay, Death Knight was not a mistake. Death Knight's fine. All right, Death Knight's fine. Now, I do agree with this. The class is in a pigeonhole with the rune system because they have to like abide by these rune system rules. So it does make the class feel a little bit more jank, but it's not a mistake. Like there's no way. Removing the option to add dimensions to other. I don't understand how the 3-second archetypes removes the dimensions to other classes in the future. I think the only class that this has impacted so far is Warrior. But I do agree with this. There's a video on the More Rarran channel where I talked about it, about how like it's really weird, and the more cards that come out, the weirder the system gets, and the way that they have to design cards makes it really unfortunate because you can't do what you want to do with Death Knight. It's weird. It's weird. Here's a hot take for you guys. I think Death Knight would be a lot more fun if there was no triple rune cards. Thoughts? But like they would have to nerf some of the triple rune cards, obviously, but I think it'd be more interesting. All right. Trying to get a signature card isn't worth $500. Okay. Let me talk about this, dude. I see this so much. Bro. I see this so fucking much. Okay, dude, it's not the $500 for one card. All right, I got a ton of dust. I got a lot of golden cards. It's whatever. But the main thing is that it's a tax write-off for me. If I was someone who didn't play this game, or if I played this game as a non-streamer, I wouldn't fucking spend $500 to get a fucking card. I don't give a shit that much, but it's content. And you guys remember that stream when we opened it? It was fucking awesome. And I get to make videos on it anyways. Don't fucking say copium. Shut up. Listen, it's fine. I don't have to take this shit. Hold on.
New game-breaking rule: make the board 8 minion wide.
I think 8 minions wouldn't make that big of a difference, if I'm gonna be honest. Chat, tell me. Thanks for the 5, bro. Or thanks for the 400. I don't know what currency this is. Chat, tell me this isn't fucking beautiful. Tell me it's not beautiful. Look at them. This is the embodiment of sex and culture. And yeah, I don't know. Fuck you guys. I'm moving on. I don't know why I opened that to get roasted anymore. Hot take: HS is not a dead game. Listen, despite of what people say in YouTube comments or on Reddit, Hearthstone is not a dead game. It's fine. Hearthstone should focus more on solo content. It's the only reason I play. Oh god, a lot of solo content people. Sex and culture, exactly. Inspire is a good mechanic with bad cards that don't do it justice. This one's tough because it is a hot take. Inspire was not a good mechanic. The fact is, a card shouldn't have you spend two more mana to get an additional benefit. It's not great. But maybe Inspire would be better for chat. Forge, yes, I know what Forge is. I know what Forge is. So you guys all gonna spam it. The difference about Forge is that you don't have to play the card to forge the card. You could forge the card preemptively before playing the card. Inspire requires you to play the card and then you have to hit your hero power. That's the difference. Sorry if I misspoke. Like, the fact you don't have to play the card first before you forge is a very big deal. Forge is also a one-time thing that makes the card good. I think Inspire, just the way that they did it, it just wasn't great because they thought that infinite value was going to be like what people did, or like it was going to be the best thing when they released the expansion. So a lot of those cards were shit. And it made the mechanic feel even worse. So like there's some, I think, good design Inspire cards. I think like Nexus Champion Sarad's probably like one of the best ones. It needed a better way of doing it. Like it should have been like Battlecry and Inspire should have been on like a lot of those cards, in my opinion, at least. Yo, Gnome, thanks for becoming a member, and Marcos, thank you for becoming a member too. Were you the guy who said to me, "Are you gonna play any games today?" There's some okay totem effects or Inspire effects. I don't know if I would call it a good mechanic though. Maybe this is why this is a hot take though. Like maybe it was a good mechanic with just bad cards, and it didn't get its justice. Maybe they're right. All right, United Shaman was a turning point that made Wild way better. It gave so many more decks lethality, which pushed Q-Block, my most hated deck in the game, out of the meta. Now, if we could push out Secret Mage, they finally nerfed a Secret Mage card at least, but it was undercard. I have no thoughts on Wild, but from what I hear, I don't think lethality is very needed. Shutterwalk was the first card to effectively break the game. Incorrect, actually. Also, I love your profile picture if you watch this, because that's from Kenny versus Spenny, I believe. Chat, do you know what my most viewed video is on the channel of all time? And I can tell you right now, it's not Shutterwalk. So, go check that video if you haven't seen it. Demon Hunter has never been the most annoying class to come against ever. All right, I'm gonna ban this person. Anyone have thoughts? Any thoughts for banning this person? Like, I don't think he's. I don't think he's right. Have mercy. Big Priest is the definition of a mid-range deck. I have no comment on that. I don't know how to describe that. If Mercenaries had been marketed properly, not only would it still be alive, it would be an esport today. Wow. If Mercenaries had been marketed properly, I don't think the problem with Mercenaries is how it was marketed. I think the problem with Mercenaries is how it was made. Like, they did a pretty good job of getting people interested into the game mode, right? They had a stream and everything, right? That's more than like they do for almost anything else. But the game just wasn't balanced, right? It was in the oven for 2 hours, but it needed to be in the oven for 3. Like, they needed way more time. It had the potential to be a really good game mode. They also fucked up so hard, dude. They fucked up so hard. Oh my God. If they didn't nerf the elemental in the first week, it would have been way better. And if they nerfed Valera when she came out in December or November, I can't remember, it would have also been really good for Mercenaries. Valera was the point where the game died, but it was already on its deathbed before that. They needed something more enticing for players to stick around, because it just wasn't a good game loop, and people don't mind grinding, but the game has to be fun. It just wasn't. They needed more time. It was greed, and it was greed and not cooked enough. And I'm talking from someone who was like probably played it more than most people. I miss it, man. Because I do think, like, to be honest, like I really liked the PvP in that game mode. I thought the PvP in that game mode was really well done, and I think it could have been an esport because it was fun. It was marketed as Slay the Spire, but we got Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, the marketing. But that's what this guy's saying. If it was marketed properly, maybe it would have been more popular. Man, man. I do kind of miss Mercenaries. We should do a Mercenaries stream and just see how good it is, because it's been like a year since they like killed it. Maybe it's fun. Copium.
On my take on HPs, I felt like the devs try way too hard to make them useful in today's meta by making archetypes instead of focusing on other aspects.
My take of hero powers, I feel like the devs try way too hard to make them useful in today's meta by making archetypes instead of focusing on other aspects. I mean, I kind of like the Druid one. I think the Druid one's fun. And I thought the Wildfire Mage was also fun. Like, I don't mind if they focus on it. Like, it's fun for a couple of expansions, but I can see why you wouldn't like it, because it's like you have to play your hero power every single turn. Like, you're forced to play a specific way. I think it's fine. I think it's fine if they do like a couple expansions. I like Roscott's Rumble specifically because of the Loas. It's not really a hot take. I think you can like the expansion. It just wasn't a good expansion. Forge the Baron's Miracle Priest was peak Hearthstone. Efficient is sufficient. That was like field contract or contact with Alex and the Wicked Stabs. I mean, it was all right. I wouldn't say it was peak Hearthstone. Again, it's very opinion based. If you like the deck a lot, it was probably really fun. Hot take: Death Knight is the most fun class. I think Death Knight has. No, it can't be the most fun class. No, I disagree. I disagree a lot. Because it's pigeon-held in like its rune system, I think it could be the most fun class in the game. But it can't. I don't think it can. I don't think it's like legally allowed for it to be the best class in the game. Maybe I'm wrong though. This one's also just very subjective, right? The ones that are like, I like this class the most is, it's hard to like really talk about it because like, yeah, you can like it. That's your thing. I'm gonna move this over. We've talked. No, oh my god, we talked about Priest too much. You fucking Priest players, man. All right. Classic mode was the best thing to happen to Hearthstone. Most players can't keep up with WoW. Their standard is free to play. Let's break this down. Classic mode was the best thing to happen to Hearthstone. I think this was the best thing to happen to Hearthstone if you really liked Classic. So sure. Most players can't keep up with WoW. Their standard is free to play. I disagree with this. I think it's very reasonable to keep up as a free-to-play player is you play the game every single day. Like if you play the game as a free-to-play player, you're fine. Like you're fine. If you expect, like if you take a week off and then you come back and like you missed a bunch of quests, I think it becomes a little harder, of course, because you're not getting the full experience, but I don't think it's impossible to keep up with this. Super easy to keep up with standard because of the battle pass. Classic mode was like, I think this is just objectively wrong, and this is why this is a hot take, right? But classic mode was in the game, and I remember people being pretty excited for it, and I think I played it for maybe 3 days, and then I was like, I'm gonna go back to playing standard. So yeah, I don't agree with this at all. I think it's fun. I think if like you really liked classic, it's probably your favorite, but I think this is objectively wrong. Rarran, when do we play MTG on stream again? Joseph, I have bad news. I probably won't play it for a very long time, but the video for Magic is almost done. It's almost done. I think Blizzard should give you all the cards and only charge for cosmetics. Here's the problem. I agree with you. In a perfect world, that would be the case, but Blizzard, I guarantee you, does not make a ton of money off cosmetics. I don't think it's the most popular. It's definitely not the most lucrative way of supporting Hearthstone. Unleash the Hounds for 2 mana was balanced. I gotta double check. So he's talking about this one for each minion. So this card just used to be 2. Card was fucking Uber nuts at 3, so incorrect. That's a hot take. Light Mage never got the spotlight it deserved. It's such a unique mechanic and a card only to be in by aggro and turn 6 OTKs. I mean, sure, maybe it didn't get the spotlight it deserves, but it's not only beaten by aggro and turn 6 OTKs. Like if it was good, like if it beat slower decks, because came out in Festival. Festival had slower decks. It would have been played more often. There's just better ways of playing Mage. So like, it's just not good. Everyone misses the solo adventure content dungeon runs, but nobody actually wants to pay for them. That's probably very true. Chat, would you, for people who like the solo adventures, if Blizzard charged you $20 for like a Dalaran Heist expansion, would you play it? Would you buy it? You got no new cards. It just changed the game a little bit. It added some updates. No, yeah, see, like, there you go. He's right. A metagame where control is dominant is ideal. Again, this is very subjective, so I can't really comment on this. If you like control, yeah, sure. I only have Hearthstone for the solo content. Oh my god. Okay, we're talking. So a lot of these are repeating. It's really interesting. Wild has and will always be the superior format. Wow. See, this one's interesting because you could just look at the player base for Wild and see that it's not, because people would be like, oh, like it's just more money. But like if Wild was objectively better than Standard, more people would play it. No way, bro. No way. They should make all cards available in an attempt to resurrect the game. Dude, the game isn't fucking dead. All right, like I think people have the wrong idea that Hearthstone's literally in its grave. Bro, it is still popular till this day. Is it as popular as it used to be? No, obviously. But that's just what happens with time. Hearthstone, in my opinion, if they want to make the game more popular, I think they need to break the game in the sense that like Prince Renathal did. They need to do something like you can make like a twist format where you can make a deck with 2 classes. I think they need to do something that just has not been in the game yet. 2v2 mode is another really good example of it, right? There's a lot of potential with this game mode. A lot of potential. HS dead, little bro. Listen, you guys can tell me it's dead, but I just don't agree. I think Hearthstone could be more popular. Don't get me wrong, but it's fine. Baku and Gen from Witchwood were balanced and gave flavor to the game. It's not that they weren't balanced. The problem with Gen and Baku was they just made every game play the exact same. So people got tired of playing against the mechanic, and then they rotated it early because people were tired of seeing it. So like they were balanced. They're fine. But they couldn't, like, the problem with the Gen and Baku is like they can't nerf the card without changing the card text. So it's like Odd Paladin ain't balanced. I mean, that's a deck that was good because of Baku, right? Don't get me wrong. There were decks that got better because of it. But I don't think Gen and Baku were like broken. Like cards in Odd Paladin made it really, really good, right? Baku was just a supporting to the archetype, right? It was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was underpowered or anything. It was a good card, but I don't think they were like broken. I think the problem with Baku and Gen was just they were a staple in the metagame for too long, and they need to be nerfed. Like, there's a reason why Blizzard really tries to make a brand new archetype for each expansion for classes, because they don't want the game to play the same. Gen and Baku was like, Boomsday came out, Gen and Baku were still the best decks in the format, right? And it was consistent. And then Rasta comes out, arguably the worst expansion of all time in terms of power level, and all you saw was Baku and Gen. You know what I mean? Who was better, odd decks or even decks? I think odd was better, but I think right now Gen's better than Wilds. They were both good though. They both had like their own good decks. OTA decks are really fun to fight. See, this is where I'm confused, because do you really fight OTK decks currently? They kind of just play solitaire. Older OTK decks were fun to fight. Newer ones, I'm not so sure. Priest is actually a skill-based class. Yeah, of course. Every Hearthstone class is skill-based. But I don't understand that. Warrior and Druid are the strongest wild heroes. I don't play wild, but this is probably fucking Giganauts. Control Hunter should be a thing. See, okay, here's the problem with Control Hunter. I agree, but it's the hero power that's the problem, chat. The problem with Hunter is just naturally an aggressive class, and because of their hero power, they become better. The hero power gets better the longer the game goes on. So that's why Blizzard really tries to, like, what's it gonna, Deathstalker Rexstar is a really good example of it because it replaces the hero power. That's like a really good way of doing Control Hunter, but they need to find a way to like mitigate how good the hero power is, because if the hero power is too good for a control deck, the game just becomes so fucking awful. Patches is the best Weasel Tunneler? I don't get it. Is that a Voxy meme? What is that? That's not even a hot take, bro. In solo content game modes, Hunter hero power is make 1/1 Hound with Rush, and I think it should become the normal hero power for Hunter. Holy fuck. Ain't no way, bro. I mean, they'd have to redesign some of the classes. Okay, how many more? I'm gonna go for like 30 more minutes. We've been here for like almost 3 hours at this point. Holy fuck. Shaman has always been the most entertaining class with the best flavor and class identity. Evolve, Overload, and Totems are what did I say? Totems are undeniably Shaman exclusive features. They give it an unbeatable class identity. You said before Shaman doesn't really know what it wants to do with the MTG guy. It's the only time I've ever 100% disagreed with you. Every other class looks flavorless next to Shaman. Does any other class have that many exclusive features unless it's a dual class card? No one shares Overload and no one shares Evolve. This is the take. This is the hottest take here. Okay, first of all, let's get through this. Shaman has been the most entertaining class with the best flavor and class identity. I am gonna just disagree with you outright because Warlock does it better. Warlock is the best class in terms of flavor, and I don't want to hear shit from chat because it really is. There is no other class in the game that is as well designed as Warlock can be. In terms of design, not balance, but in terms of design, Warlock is the best one. I don't hear chat. I don't hear chat. I'm not listening to chat. Not listening to chat. It's just the best one. Evolve, Overload, and I said it again. Totems are undeniably Shaman exclusive features. They give the unbeatable class identity. Okay, Totems, I agree with you. I don't know how Evolve is really a class identity for Shaman. I get behind Overload, but I don't think Overload is like a really great mechanic. Like, sure, it has class identity, but that doesn't make it like a good way of doing it. Like, Overload has always been like this really weird art, like mechanic in Shaman. And other classes have Evolve, don't they? But it's like mainly a Shaman Evolve thing, I guess. You said before that Shaman doesn't really know what it wants to do. It literally doesn't though. Like, bro, like, I'm gonna go back and look at, let's go to last year. So in Voyages in the Sunken City, what does Shaman do?
I think dual class cards should be evergreen and more common. Thoughts?
I agree with you. Dual class cards should be more evergreen. Okay. This is what Shaman did in Voyage of the Sunken City. They had this Fire, Frost, Nature spell thing, and then they had this weird totem synergy, and then they had Murlocs. They were all over the fucking place. Then we go to Castle Nathria. Castle Nathria, we're on the Evolve train now with totems and whatever the fuck this thing is. Right, and then for March of the Lich King, what are you doing now? We're doing like undead? Like, what the fuck's happening in this bitch? There's like one Evolve card. It's like big Shaman. It's literally all over the place. Like, it's literally all over the place. Now, this is not a great year for Warlock, but at least Warlock had more of a consistent strategy, which I will showcase to you immediately. Watch this. Watch this. This is just an example. Warlocks did Murlocs and they did Curses, right? Which I don't think was a great year. I don't think this was a good expansion for Warlock, if I'm going to be honest, because I don't think Curses are great. I don't know why they fucking did Murlocs. Murlocs were so cringe. But they got more on the consistent track here with Nathria, because Nathria decided to go for imps and big minions. And sorry, shadow spells. Then we go to March of the Lich King. Curses were goated? Are you fucking high? You actually like curses? Who liked curses? I fucking hated curses. March of the Lich King Blizzard, they decided to do for a like a big warlock undead package, which kind of followed through with what it was in Castle Nathria. It was a little bit more aligned. I'm not saying warlock is like always the best one. I think last year warlock was really weird. I didn't like the warlock last year, but at least it felt like more in line with the class. Like Shaman did 3 fucking batshit different stuff all year. I don't know. Maybe I'm like coping a little bit here. I do not think that Shaman is the coolest class identity one. I think Shaman over Hearthstone's history has had the most batshit experimental stuff, and often it just falls flat on its face. And then they always rely on evolve, or they always rely on totems. I don't think they're arguing that Shaman's the best class, more entertaining. Well, he literally said the most entertaining class was the best flavor in class identity. Most entertaining I can't argue with because it's very subjective. But best flavor in class identity, I just disagree. I can't sit here and pretend that this is the same thing in Shaman. Like, there's just no way. Like, I just can't agree with this at all. I just can't. Over Hearthstone's history, I think it's very easy to be like, let me look at this one expansion. Let me look how good this flavor is for Shaman. But over Hearthstone's history, Shaman's had some bad shit stuff. So I just can't agree with it. But again, this is a hot take. So it is what it is. Enough with the priest stuff, man. What's with all these people going like, haha, my hot take is priest is fun. I think Hunter and Paladin have the best idea. Paladin's probably the best one. You're probably right. Paladin's been very consistent. Actually, Hunter's been very consistent too with Beast. Yeah, you're probably right. All right. In the last few years, Hearthstone has been kind of reminding me of League. Oh, okay. What do we got here? I'm kind of excited to read this. For example, it doesn't matter what League does new. They can release just a new skin line to make bank. Lately, it feels the same for HS. It doesn't matter what they do. They could just release a new expansion to make good money. It's been seen the past people talk so much about how so expansion doesn't look fun, but meanwhile, they drop a ton of money and it looks good anyways. What? So it's like League because when they drop new content, people spend money? What? We're gonna move on from that one. Context, I only play mage and I hit legend every chance I get. The amount of RNG in the game feels terrible to play with in versus and higher margins of gameplay. I get it's fun casual, but it never feels good to win or lose because it feels like someone pulled the right paper out of a hat. It doesn't help that you feel forced to play RNG cards because they're usually tied to the best of the cards in the game. Yeah, we talked about this before, man. Like the Discover has hit a point where it's just you don't have the trade-off anymore. So it just feels bad. I think it's completely fair to say that in higher levels and especially in tournament gameplay, when you see someone just pull a card out of thin air, it feels fucking awful. So I agree. Makari sacrifices it. Whew, that's a hot boy right there. Ain't no way, champ. Ain't no way, champ. What? Oh. Wait, what? Isn't that called the car? Oh, it's March of the Lich King. I'm trolling. I wonder if this card would be better if the discard was slightly different. Like if you got to pick the discard every single time, like in Magic. I don't know. I don't think it's a good card. There's way better win conditions in Warlock. Mana cheating and ramp have been out of control for way too long and destroyed the game. Being able to ramp or mana cheat should be way more dangerous and difficult to do. Mana cheating and ramp have been out of control for way too long. I'm going to separate ramp from the sentence, but I do agree with this. I think they've been out of control. I don't know, but destroyed the game. See, how do I put this? I gotta put this very gently. They do mana cheating because people are probably playing the game more with mana cheating. Like they probably realize like people just like doing broken shit. So like they're gonna keep printing cards that allow people to do broken shit. I think that's the logic behind it. Because otherwise I don't know like why they do it. It'll be interesting to see how they handle how people like the twist format that's about to come up. Because the twist format that's coming should be a lot slower paced because of the expansions that are in it. Copium slightly, but we'll see. I think if people find a way to complain about how something is broken in the older formats at Hearthstone, then I think any single time someone brings up mana cheating or ramp, it's irrelevant, right? It just feels irrelevant. I guess that's the take. I don't know. New twist is going to be as dead as the first one. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. A set with 0 mana cheat equals TGT and no one plays that? No, you're not wrong. I don't know why he's talking about old metas. I'm talking about old metas because when we see this twist format, right, it is an old meta game. And there'll be brand new ways to play. It's basically the same thing as it was, except for now that old gods, mean streets, and one night cares and are in the format. And there's a couple nerfs and a couple changes, but theoretically speaking, the older formats at Hearthstone shouldn't feel as mana cheaty, right? Because the game should be slowed down. But I'm saying like if people are playing that format and they're like, man, this is so broken, like this shouldn't cost this much mana, then I feel like every year of Hearthstone just has mana cheating, but sometimes it's just more apparent than others. Anyways, while it should be easy to balance with monthly nerf, outliers, and quick bans to problem cards, allowing for unique monthly experience, I agree, but the problem with this is that they'll never do it. Or what they should do is like make a third format, something like shake up, like mix up, to like do this. I don't know. I was talking about twist. I have more hours in League of Solo Adventures than all my competitive games, and there's a good reason. That's not a hot take though, man. That's just like your life. Hunters should not be allowed to be this good for this long. Several expansions in a row with a deck that's 65% win rate. Doesn't matter how good it is in Legend when it's making people want to quit in lower ranks. I agree. I agree. I don't think there's much to talk about. I agree. Grim Patron Warrior took immense skill to play and never should have been nerfed. The amount of times I watched my opponent panic and end up OTKing my... The amount of times I watched my opponent panic... I watched an opponent panic and end up not OTKing me, I guess, just for me to OTK them back the following turn was so incredibly fun. This is not a hot take. Grim Patron was a very hard deck to play at the highest level. Never should have been nerfed. They nerfed Worse on Commander though, because the deck could literally kill you on turn 7 if you had the best hand. And I think back in the day, I think also at the highest level, there was like no way to consistently beat it. So they had to do something to it. It'll be interesting to see how Grim Patron is in the twist format because the whole deck is playable and there's buffs. I think it's still necessary for an esport. I think watching Grim Patron mirrors is one of the most exciting times in Hearthstone. It was fun. The Year of Dragon was better than the Year of the Mammoth. Rise, Uldum, Descent, better than Ungoro, Frozen Throne, and Cobalt and Catacombs. This is tough, man. I think Ungoro and Frozen Throne deserve so much credit because it pushed the game forward and it innovated quite a bit on the previous year of Hearthstone. Cobalt and Catacombs was just a batshit expansion, but like it still was really fun to play in. I don't know. I disagree with this, but I might be looking at it with rose-colored glasses, right? I don't remember what the metagames were like. But this year was good. This was like, this is my favorite year of Hearthstone, but I don't know if it was better than this year. And in current Hearthstone, the amount of cards played in, in current Hearthstone, the amount of cards played / turn, what the fuck? Amount of cards played in a turn is too high since you can afford to play a lot more cards. They do this intentionally, man. Like I said, people, they've clearly realized the pattern of people like to play cards. So that they keep on letting people play a lot more cards. Less power in the metal equals more fun. Is this a hot take though? I don't know. We need more fire spells. Not really a hot take. Galakrond was fun and not broken. It was broken, bro. Rarran is the best Hearthstone streamer. Now this is a hot take. Oh my god. Yo, what the fuck? Don't call me out like this, man. God damn. Oh my god. I just got fucking harassed. Holy shit. This guy wrote a fucking essay under here. Hold on. HS better nowadays than it was at any point in its life in both cost and interest. All right. Brand was good for okay. My man's cooking. Wild is more accessible than standard. In the long run, maybe. Denathrius and Renathal were better for the game before nerfs. I would say this for sure. I'm not sure about this guy. Aggro meta isn't something bad. Same goes for a combo meta. I think it's like fine to have aggro meta, combo meta, control meta, as long as there's like versatility, right? Like as long as there's a change in the pace. Leroy costing 4 with this guy. Okay, this is where I draw the line, bro. There's no fucking way this card at 4 mana was fine. Holy shit, this card at 4 was gross. Especially when the power level of the average card was lower than it is now. This was fucked. This card was broken. Like at 4 mana, it was like the best card in the game. This guy's out of his mind. That's the hot take, bro. Death Knight should have 4 to 6 rune slots instead of 3 and have a passive that changed something when built in a specific way. For example, for every frost rune, every 3 turns, your first spell cost. Are you smoking? For every unholy, you draw a card every 3 turns. What the fuck? For every blood rune, you gain 2 to 3 life every 3 turns. What? For every empty rune, you gain. What the fuck? All right, bro. No. Runeterra is the best CCG, nevertheless. I should have read this one first. Now it makes sense why he said this and why he said this and why he said this. I should have read this one first. It makes total sense. Cobalt Sticky Figures is an auto-include in all wild. I don't play wild. Patches should either have charge or his voice line should be changed. I agree. Not a hot take. It's been long enough. Patches should get charge or at least rush. Dude, I'm pretty sure if it got charged back, like it'd be wild, it would be even more miserable. They can't do it. I would maybe see rush, but there's no way they're giving a charge back because he's no longer in charge. F for patches, bro. How many more are there? Where am I? Oh, I'm mostly at the bottom. There's more. Oh my god. There's too many. There's too many, chat. Signature cards are one of, if not the most ingenious monetization idea that Hearthstone team has come up with, and they're silly. Is this a hot take? See, I think most people would agree with me when I say this, that the fact that whales, like myself, I'm a giant whale, are willing to put money to buy these signature skins is beneficial for the entire Hearthstone audience. So, yeah, it's a good monetization idea. But, and I don't know why they're silly, though. Priest is the worst cast to play against. It's Rogue. It's Demon Hunter, bro. I'm just here for the variety CCG content. Thanks, man. Hopefully tomorrow, I'm hoping, okay, today I'll have another video, but tomorrow I'm hoping to have the Magic video out. I'm just waiting for the, actually, let me message her real fast. Any updates? I'm waiting for the thumbnail. What does CCG stand for? Collectible card game. That's what it is. Blizzard should invest more into deep card testing and balancing before they release cards and keep cards on watch after release for quick nerfs. Blizzard's a small indie company, bro. They won't. Are you gonna get signature patches? Probably not. I don't really care, to be honest. When does the Magic drama arc begin? I don't think people will really get mad at me. I do say in the video multiple times though that I do think Hearthstone is still a better game. So, and I did that for like rage baiting people. Also, I did a color tier list in the video that I didn't do on stream. So Hearthstone is a lot more fun than it actually is to play the game. I think Hearthstone is the most enjoyable when you play it for an hour. But if I'm playing longer than an hour, I'd rather watch it. For the most part. But I kind of do like streaming it. It really depends on the metagame, though. People give Rogue an unfairly short leash. Players will be quick to make a stink about Rogue having a pretty good combo, even though this is Sunken City. Until recently, Mercenaries and Titans, Rogue has not been strong in the previous rotations of Standard. I think people look at Rogue because over the Hearthstone's history, Rogue has probably had the most insane fucking combos. And when Rogue has another broken combo, it's like, oh, here we go. Rogue's playing the game again. Also, this is kind of bullshit. If I'm going to be real, this is a hot take because in Castle Nathriel, they had the location. And that was fucking bullshit. So, yeah, hot take there, Corey. Once cards rotate out of standard, they should be free. Wild is a better mode to watch and play, but it's too expensive to be a part of. They'll never do this. It's not even a hot take. They'll just never do it. But I think most people would agree with you. Hearthstone's still good. It just changed so much that it isn't the same type of game anymore. Yeah, you see, I think that's the point. Hearthstone, this is actually a really good take. Hearthstone's evolved. It's not the same game as it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It's a different game. The game has evolved. Much like how League of Legends evolved. League of Legends used to be a much slower paced game. If you go watch Season 2 League to what it is now, it's just a different game. The fundamentals are the same and the game still plays similarly, but it's a different game. It's fine. Truthfully believe that the HX experience... Did you just write this? You did, 1 hour ago. Truthfully believe HX experience would be better if Mage didn't exist as a class. Okay. Even when they're not a tier 1 deck, they are far and away the most annoying class in every expansion. Random generation that rivals Baron's Priest, secrets that are immune to secret counters. I agree with this. Fuck that shit. And easily the most annoying defensive cards to be printed. Ice Block, Sound, Alibi, and the freeze mechanic as a whole. Holy shit. That's a hot take. I'll tell you what though, man. Mage is probably the most popular class in the game. Most people start off the game with Mage. And people fall in love with it. Mage has had some bullshit. Don't get me wrong. But I think Hearthstone needs Mage. I couldn't imagine the game without it. That was a fucking spicer, bro. Why Blizzard will never do things that are strictly good for the game. The problem is, man, is developing stuff. It's easier. Okay, I'm going to try my best to explain this. I'm not defending Blizzard, but I'm going to try my best to explain this. In game development or anything for business, money is the most important thing. So when you say Blizzard should do this because it's going to be beneficial for the game, in order to do that, they have to spend money. Right? Which means Blizzard has to look at that option and go, am I going to make money back from this? Am I going to make more money than I'm investing into it? Right? Or will this thing bring money in different ways? Right? So you brought up the test server, right? In order for Blizzard to do this, they would have to make a test server. They would have to have people monitoring the test server. They would have to, etc. Like the list goes on and on. So in Blizzard's mind, they would have to be like, hey, is this worth actually developing? Are we going to make a return on this? Is this actually worth something to put time and effort into when we could be doing something else? We also don't know what they're doing behind the scenes at the same time. And we're also completely disregarding everything that they release into the game, right? Standard, like Titans, Battlegrounds. I don't fucking know. Whatever they're doing behind the scenes, right? Wild expansion, whatever, etc., right? There's stuff that we haven't seen yet that they're also developing. Basically, it comes down to, is it worth the investment and will they make a return? Because above all else, Blizzard is a company that wants to make money. That's pretty much the end of conversation, right? Now, it's by having a blanket statement that says, like, why does Blizzard never do things that are strictly better for the game? I just disagree with, because they do a lot of stuff that is beneficial for the game, right? There's a ton of content for this game, but they don't do everything right. That's my hot take. I want a monk class. Most people do, buddy. The developer should add arena back to the main menu instead of tower brawl. It doesn't really matter. DH is the best class in the game, no cap. All right, how do I ban somebody? Despite being complete trash in terms of power level, Inspire is one of the most fun keywords implemented in the game. Again, it's very subjective because fun is like, do you like hitting the hero power? Yeah.
Rarran, I'd love to watch you do a playthrough of BG3, and also good point about the way the game industry works.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate it. Thanks for 5, brother. I would love to play BG3 on stream. The problem is, man, is it's too long of a game. And I am not at the state in my content career journey where I feel it's okay to take that much time off from like Hearthstone. Not yet. The goal is to get to that point, but eventually. The game is still a stillbirth that will never compare to real children's card game MTG. What? Hearthstone. See, one of the things in my Magic video that I do quite a bit is I think Hearthstone is just a different game that learned from MTG but took a different approach to a lot of it, right? The fundamental difference being drawing lands versus not drawing lands. If Hearthstone you had to draw lands, Hearthstone just wouldn't be as fun. So I think it's weird to compare the games in a way that they're both trying to do the same thing. Hearthstone is clearly trying to do a more streamlined card game, where Magic is a much more nuanced card game, and they both have their pros and cons. But like, let's be real here. Hearthstone's a ginormous game, and it's very good. By the way, I want to make it for the record, I fucking hate drawing lands. I think I'm really glad a lot of card games have separated, don't do that anymore. Losing Ben Bro was the worst thing for the game. No, we talked about this earlier though. Recombobulator was the best goblins versus gnome cards. If you're talking about design, I can get behind it, but power cream, no. Or powerfulness, no.
It's not fair to compare a digital CCG to physical.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's really hard to compare them. Yeah, you're right. Innervate was completely fine pre-nerf. Bro, you're coping out of your mind. Corrupted. There will never be another attrition or heavy control deck meta because a big portion of young players have ruined their attention span with shit like TikTok, and Blizz needs a new generation of consumers. I mean, listen, I don't know if I would go this far to really do that. I don't know if this is really the problem with the heavy control and attrition. I think most people just don't like playing against in these metas. Like, they don't like playing. No one wants to play a 45-minute game. Most people don't. So I think Blizzard intentionally tries to like not do that. Has there ever been a true attrition meta? Yeah, during Rise of Shadows, with Elysiana and Dr. Boom, there was probably the most attrition heavy metagame we've had in a very long time. That was in 2019. That shit was crazy. It was so attrition based, by the way, that you would run either the Brewmaster or Baleful Banker so that you could shuffle in another Elysiana into your deck. Like, that shit was crazy. And people didn't like it. Back in my day, in the glory days of Frozen Throne and SC2, Blizzard did things to have quality first and monetization second. I mean, you could say that about every company, buddy. The entire... Here's a hot take for you, chat. Here's a hot take. I'm not defending Blizzard here, but in Blizzard, like they definitely dropped the ball quite a bit because they had such a high, I want to say ceiling for games because they released them at such a fucking high quality. But every company has kind of gotten worse because people just focus on money first. It's not just Blizzard. Blizzard's like the poster child though, because they had such a big fall. That's my hot take. Every company does that. Riot does it. Patches with Pirate wasn't as bad as people claimed. Cope. Straight cope. If you can't handle paladins and robots joining forces, then they don't deserve to be a paladin. What the fuck does that even mean? The hottest Hearthstone take is Rarran. What? Thanks, man. Aggro decks are just better than control because games are shorter. You can climb faster. Booter, that's your opinion. I will say like that. You got to remember that's how you feel about the game. I don't think it's like an objective thing to say out loud. Boomer take. Listen, you can call me a boomer all you want, but I think most companies have gotten worse over the years. Like, you remember BioWare? BioWare dropped Mass Effect 2. They were on the fucking top of the world, and then they dropped complete dog shit. Bethesda dropped Fallout 3 and New Vegas and Skyrim, and then they dropped well, Fall of Fire is fine, but then they dropped whatever the fuck the MMO is, right? Most of these biggest companies have definitely lost quality over the years. That's just 2 examples off the top of my head. Skyrim wasn't fine, arguably. I mean, it had bugs, but it was a good game, right? Okay, I don't know how many more I can go. I'm kind of getting tired of reading.
Hot take, deck trackers should be affordable in 2023.
I agree, dude. Deck trackers should be affordable in 2023. You're right. You're right. Fuck these fucking elitist gamers with their deck trackers. Dude, deck trackers cost money now. Go until mine. All right. Let's look for yours. Diamond and signature cards are being sold in the shop, ruin the whole concept of rare and craftables. What was the concept of rare and craftables beforehand? I don't even know what they would be before that. Did Hearthstone even have rare and craftables? Not really. Only from the reward track? Stuff like the legendary Murloc? But you would get that legendary Murloc by crafting every card. It's just like an extra stat. I think this guy's out of his mind. Like, that's a hot take. For you promo things like Golden ETC and Galen Mechatork. Okay, I can get behind that. Yeah, you're right. But they can still do that. It's not like they just stop. They kind of stopped doing that before they even released signature and diamond cards, though. Like, they haven't done that in so long. The game was better before they added wild and a set rotation. I miss freeze mage and old. This guy's just living in the past. I'm gonna be real with you. Okay, who asked me? Okay, Caster, I'm gonna just control F for you, bro. If I don't find it, I don't find it. Oh no. The things I do. Aggro decks are harder to play than control. Holy shit. Control is easier in the sense that it's reactive. So you're as an aggro player, you have to kind of like think about how to actually win the game. Control players are like, oh, how do I react to what you're doing? So okay, here's a weird thought. I think aggro mirror matches have the, not aggro mirror matches, aggro archetype matchups, like against each other, 2 aggro decks have a higher potential for like skill expression than control decks do. That might be a hot take for a lot of you, but that may be the case. Literally anybody can hit legends. That sounds like he's coping. This is the guy who's like, I can hit legend if I want to. Unless he's already legend, then I still think he's wrong. But I think this guy's like, I'm diamond 5. I can hit legend if I put time into it. That's what that guy said. Caster, I don't see your fucking thing, bro. Classic Hearthstone is peak Hearthstone. No. Classic Hearthstone had the benefit of introducing you to the game, and it also had the benefit of you having the most streamers available to you, and arguably the best streamers that we've had in Hearthstone. So I think people, when they think about classic Hearthstone, remember how good the times were in their life when it was around, right? When classic Hearthstone came out, I was in grade 11, grade 12, and I was chilling. I had no responsibilities. My life was easy. Didn't have to think about money. I could just play video games all day and chill with my friends. Now I'm fucking 27 and I'm old as shit, and I think about money, and like it's a different time. And I think what makes classic Hearthstone so exciting, and what I remember so fondly, is the memories I shared with streamers and the times I had playing with my friends with Hearthstone. And that's what made League so much more enjoyable, right? So in a sense, it potentially was peak Hearthstone because of the memories that you made for it. But if you're talking about like strictly the game mode, I disagree. BG is the superior HS game mode. I think a lot of people would agree with this. I'm just scrolling to see. Hearthstone 2 should have been released a long time ago. It would solve the problems with the solitaire gameplay and game modes. You think Hearthstone 2 would solve the problems that Blizzard currently has? No. No, they would. It's like Overwatch 2, bro. We actually have literally an example of what the second version of a game does. Dun, 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 dun. Caverns of Time and its sequels will be completely disastrous for Wild, and we all know and love in years to come. The sequels will be completely disastrous for Wild. This isn't even that hot of a take, man. Like, this is just honestly like the case. The Wild only expansion that they're releasing will probably have maybe 2 cards actually be impactful in the current Wild environment. You know? In the current Wild environment. You read mine, you just missed it above twist. My honest opinion, the only thing wrong with HS is that they aren't doing anything. My opinion, in my honest opinion, the only thing wrong with HS is that they aren't doing anything innovative and fun. Yes, we get new cards and new rotations and new mechanics, but it's all surrounded by the same game. Twist was supposed to be a great thing, but it's so lackluster. Yes, we had Battlegrounds and Mercs, but that's not normal Hearthstone. We need something that new to do in HS to make Twist actually fun. Twist was supposed to be a great new thing for the last stuff. Okay. Twist gets a bad rap because we've only had 1 month of Twist, right? We're acting like Twist has been out for like a year at this point, right? There's so much potential with this format. There's so much potential with this format, right? That I think it's very easy to fucking like dog on it, but like realistically, the potential is there, and I do think at some point we will have a Twist format that will be so fucking good that people will be like, holy shit. Currently, I do agree with this, right? We have Battlegrounds and Merc, but that's not normal Hearthstone. We need something new to do. Yeah, I agree with this. I do agree with this. I think, again, I said at the start of the stream, the best thing Hearthstone can do is do something that breaks the game. Like dual class deck building, like Renathal example, like 40 health in the game. You know what I mean? Like that. I agree. Renathal should stay at 35 HP. The watch post should be a nerf. They promoted a slower curve. The choice between when and how to remove them was extremely skill intensive. Bro, what? Dude, this is absolutely batshit, if I'm going to be honest. This is batshit thinking. The watch posts were actually a way to stop your opponent from playing the game. Like if you're this card had 4 health. Okay, if I coined this card out and you did not have a way to remove it, you just fucking lost. Like you lost. You fucking lost. Absolutely fucking no. This guy's trolling. Your thing's here. Okay, this is gonna be the last one I read. I gotta go, chat. Where is it, caster? Where is it? Oh my god, United Storm was good. Hey, it's David. Let's read what my editor has to say. He's gonna put this in the video of us guaranteed. Can we just hold on a second? Deck trackers should be ingrained in the game. Cards should be free for everything but ranked. If the game hard pivoted towards control and combo meta, it would be a lot more enjoyable, especially with a lot of the new disruption cards. At the cost of a smaller player base, aggro are used to Blizzard's chores, ranked and quest. They are inherently not fun to play, only to play to win and not enjoy the process. Low power level expansions, Rostagon's Rumble are necessary to not skyrocket the power creep and pace of the. Holy fuck, David's cooking. Give me a second. I gotta go back. Holy shit, David, you're going off. Okay. Deck trackers should be ingrained in game. I agree with this, but they won't do it, David. Why would Blizzard want to put the money towards this if someone is literally doing it for free? Cards should be free for everything but ranked. David's cooking for chat, boys. David's a man of the people. I don't know if David can. David, the problem with this, bro, is that Blizzard needs to make money. But like, yeah, no one would play. Would anyone care about ranked? I don't know. That's a really interesting thought. the game pivoted hard to pivot towards control and combo meta, it would be a lot more enjoyable, especially with the new disruption cards at the cost of a smaller player base. David's a very, I don't agree with this, David. I don't. I think it's important to have aggro, mid-range, control, combo, attrition. Like, I think that's important to have everything. But I can see that, like, if you made the game centered around control and combo, the player base that does play it would like it. Came back just in time for my take. Oh shit, he's in the chat now. Oh god, David, I think you're slightly coping on this one. Aggro decks are used to do Blizzard's chores, ranked in quests. So this isn't like this blanket statement. This isn't always the case though, right? Like some of the quests, yeah, sure, but that's so funny. They are inherently not fun to play, only played to win and not enjoy the process. Unfortunately for you, David, this is a very subjective take. People like playing aggro decks. So this isn't this, but a hot take against aggro players, I guess. Lower power level expansions, Rostacon's Rumbles, are necessary to not skyrocket the power creep and pace of the game, but that we don't sell well and slowly kill the game. This is right. I wonder if it's possible to make expansions be in a power level where they're like slightly lower, slightly higher, but it like maintains around the same power level. But it's hard. I think I'm not a game designer, but I think it's hard to design cards without just design cool and interesting new cards without just naturally raising the bar slightly. Tough. Flash and other summoner spells cooldown should be viewable for everyone. What? David, we're not playing League, buddy. Timing is not fun and not skill expression, but there's already third-party programs that time summoner spells automatically. If they happen on your screen, you press the button to time them. Witcher 3 main story is boring aside from the DLCs. Dude, I actually agree with this so much. I fucking tried to play that game 4 times. 4 fucking times. And every single time I stopped playing the game. Combat is mind-numbingly simplistic. Press 2 buttons in combat and go around the toucan sandwich looking for clues outside of it. The world is literally Ubisoft style 5 points duplicated 5 times. Bethesda has never been good, and Starfield will be another iteration of Fallout Skyrim series, but in space, and that's a bad thing. Oh, and spell heavy decks are trash design. What is the comment to this? That message. Holy shit. David off the rocker, bro. I don't agree with this, by the way. I really don't. I think Bethesda has had 3 really good games, at least from the ones I played. I think Skyrim's really good. I think Fallout 3 was really good. And I think New Vegas was really good. I think all 3 of those deserve to at least be talked about. David, holy fuck, bro. What are you? Is it Crack Thursday? Holy shit. Okay, which one is it? Which one is it, Caster? Which one is it? He messaged me. Which one is it? You just passed my comment. It has the same picture, but the name is Miss... Oh, why didn't you tell me that? Miss what? Bro, I'm fucking crying. Here we go. Oh, buddy. Here we go. All right, chat. This is the last hot take of the evening. Everyone enjoy this. Here we go. The game is a pay-to-win type of game. The time I played, I couldn't make one good deck before it drafted with the new format next year. And this is awful for a card game. That's why I loved Whizbang. Wait, what? Sorry. The time I played couldn't make one good deck before it draft was with the format next year. I'm sorry, what? I feel like if you write a comment like this, you should type how often you play the game. Because like, okay, and this is awful for a card game. That's why I loved Whizbang, because I crafted one card to play multitude of good decks, but it was fun, and this isn't something to happen in all card games. Because we have a good example of what we could have to make it deck building easier with Legend of Terra Master. Both games are super friendly to new players and give them free dust to make decks in specific card no moment. But okay, I don't know when you started playing the game, Caster, but like Hearthstone gives you a free deck. You get a shit ton of cards, and you get the battle pass system and duplicate protection, and you get a guaranteed legendary in the first 10 packs. Like you actually get so much shit in this game nowadays. Like it's fucking crazy. Like I don't think this is good at all. I don't think this is great. This sentence right here is not correct at all. Hearthstone is not pay to win. Okay, this is the hottest take of all, and people need to fucking get their head out of their ass. This game isn't pay to win, dude. Pay to win specifically is like I can buy something that you can't buy. This game is pay to play. You can get legend with literally not spending a single dollar. If this comment was made at the start of Hearthstone, it would be a little bit more justifiable because the current system, the old system was awful, but the new system is more than enough for you to get legend. It is easy to get legend. It's easy. Again, like when I did the free to play series, I literally didn't craft a single card. I had like 20 packs to open. I took the free deck that Blizzard gave you and I hit Diamond 5, right? That's without crafting anything. Imagine if I just got an actual real deck. Legends of Runeterra is so free to play because because Riot knows they're gonna lose money on it regardless, right? Because it's a game that is not inherently very popular, and Riot is using it as a gateway to introduce you to other Riot products, right? It's the same concept as Arcane. Arcane was the best advertisement that that Riot has ever done because it got so many people back into the game. Like I played League after I saw Arcane because I was so fucking hyped for it. I don't know about Master Duel. From what I can tell though, you do get like a deck, so I'm sure it's fine. Anyways, that could be the end of my hot takes, chat. Thanks for watching. I gotta go for the next 5 days. I gotta go feed my dad's dogs, so that's what I gotta go do, and then I'm gonna go finish this magic video. Thanks for watching, David. I'm gonna upload this into the drive if you want to start working on it. It's up to you. My account since 2015. I've never experienced this format. I played this early in Hearthstone. Okay, but if you've had your account since 2015, man, how do you not have dust to build a single thing? Like I've been playing since closed beta, and I was a free-to-play player until Rise of Shadows, man. Well, okay, I bought the Grand Tournament, but it wasn't really useful. I pre-ordered the Grand Tournament. Like you should have been able to at least craft a meta deck if you've been playing, like especially post the new Battle Pass situation, like 100%, man. Unless you're playing like one game a week, then it's like there's no fucking way you're gonna have new cards. No way. Anyways, thanks for watching, chat. There'll be a new video out later today with the Dalaran heist, I think. We finally got approved on the sponsorship for the Dalaran heist, so that'll be out later today. Anyways, I hope you guys had fun. Tomorrow, okay, if I finish the magic video today, which is going to be my goal, we will play a new card game tomorrow. If I don't, it will be Hearthstone, and then on Saturday we'll play a different card game. Okay, that's going to be the goal. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the donos. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the liking. I will see you guys later.